This is an interesting matchup here. Marshall Faulk said earlier this week on this network that he thinks that the Rams are actually a better team
Homer!
right now
Need some water
than
for
the
that?
Eagles.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I mean, I understand fundamentally what he's saying. In other words, because that team has been assembled together longer than this quote-unquote dream team that we're talking about. But the realities are, as I look at it, is that when you look at the receiving core, and you just talked about Nnamdi Asomugha, and we forgot about Asante, and we've got DRC over there as well. So they've got a great a defensive back core that's going to challenge a young receiving core that doesn't have a lot of long vertical speed. And so that's where the problem is going to reside, as you asked me. I think the quarterback has done a great job of developing as a quarterback, but the problem becomes if you don't have weapons to work with, if you don't have weapons that can stretch the field, Sam Bradford is not going to be as proficient as he possibly could.
Mike Sims Walker's a nice start, but still not enough.
But he's just, compared to that secondary, he's just a guy.
Yeah.
I mean, they had an opportunity, in my opinion, to go after some other players that were necessarily low-dough guys that they didn't necessarily go after, maybe because of, Josh McDaniel being there and his prowess as his play caller.
In all seriousness, I do not believe this is a layup for the Dream Team. They still have issues on their offensive line. They were tweaking that thing late in training camp. And they're going to be facing a St. Louis Rams front seven that will get after your quarterback. 43 sacks last year. They took quarterbacks to the woodshed last year. The Eagles have a ton of talent, okay? That's fine. They have great talent on the perimeter, but if Mike Vick doesn't have time to set his feet and throw the football, there are some mistakes that can be forced. A big question, can Mike Vick, as great as he was last year, Jamie, can Mike Vick repeat in 2011 what we saw in 2010? I think he can, but he can't do that if he doesn't have time to throw the football.
So you said that you didn't think it was going to be a layup for the Eagles. So do you think that they will still win?
Yeah,
maybe not as easily?
And I actually agree with him. It's not going to be a layup. The Rams are going to come play. But at the same time, I would say to your point about Michael Vick, they're going to get a chance to see that kid with that speed in real time. So I'm going to take the Eagles.
I shot 85% from the free throw line, so I'll say it's like a free throw. It's not quite a layup, but it's a free throw that the Eagles will go on the run.
If you don't say so
win.
yourself, 85%.
Got to call it as it is.
We welcome you to St. Louis, Missouri, where it's opening weekend of the NFL season, and the NFL on Fox presents the Philadelphia Eagles and the St. Louis Rams. The Eagles are the defending NFC East champions, but after an early playoff loss, they've reloaded, surrounding Michael Vick with a star-studded cast in hopes of a trip to the Super Bowl. In St. Louis, they're talking playoffs as well. Second-year quarterback Sam Bradford looks to start that journey with a Week 1 shocker today. Coming up next, we'll join Kurt Menefee, who will introduce a very special tribute commemorating the 10th anniversary of September 11, 2001. That's after these words from your local Fox station.
A special welcome across all of the networks in the Fox family as we pause now to honor the sacrifices given by so many a decade ago today. On this 10th anniversary of 9/11, we share this time with the National Football League, its owners and players, to remember the victims and heroes from that tragic but also inspiring day in our nation's history. The NFL's September 11th Remembrance begins with an introduction by Robert De Niro, followed by taps, a moment of silence, and our national anthem.
10 years ago today, 19 terrorists hijacked 4 airplanes, and in an instant, 2,977 innocent victims lost their lives. To all who sacrificed that day, from Ground Zero to the Pentagon, to the heroic passengers on Flight 93 in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, the NFL remembers. On this anniversary, we honor those brave men and women by continuing to show our unity and strength as a country as we pay tribute to their memory.
September 11, 2011. We will never forget. And on a Sunday, we play football. Opening Sunday of the season, the Philadelphia Eagles to take on the St. Louis Rams. And hi again, everybody, alongside the coach, Brian Billick, and Laura Oakman. I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to the NFL on Fox. So much talk about these Eagles during the offseason, all the free agent frenzy, of course, after the free agent period began. And on the other side of the ledger for the St. Louis Rams, only one win shy of a playoff berth a year ago.
Yeah, I'm like everybody. I can't wait to see this dream team. Now, that's not what Andy Reid wants to call it, but you know what? He doesn't have a vote because that's what his fans and everybody out of the league is talking about, and for good reason. But there's a few things that could turn that dream into a nightmare. He's got a reshuffled offensive line, an inexperienced linebacking core, 2 rookie kickers, and a new defensive coordinator that's never called a game in the NFL. Now, on the other side of the field, they've got some confidence, primarily because of their second-year quarterback, Sam Bradford. They think he's an elite player. They also have made some additions on the defensive side of the ball. They're thinking division championship for the first time since 2003.
So here we go, Bradford and the Rams. Hosting the Eagles, of course, the Los Angeles native Andy Reid, the longest tenured head coach in the National Football League, his 13th year. He's been to the playoffs 9 times, 5 times to the NFC Championship game, 1 Super Bowl, but has never won the Super Bowl. And is one-time assistant for 8 years in Philadelphia. Came over as defensive coordinator from the Giants, Steve Spagnuolo. Won 1 game his first year, 7 games last year. The Eagles have won the toss, selected to receive, and the rookie Dion Lewis will bring it out 7 yards from the end zone. And not a wise move by the rookie. We introduced Philadelphia offensively, and much has been made about this offensive line. The 3 interior linemen, all new starters, including the rookie out of Cincinnati, Jason Kelce. Weapons, you better believe it. Macklin, Jackson, LaShawn McCoy. And, of course, it all starts with Michael Vick, the 2010 NFL Comeback Player of the Year.
And you can throw in there Steve Smith, that is active for this game as well. He may be a factor.
Good pickup on first down as Vick is quickly flushed from the pocket. Take a look at the Rams on defense. They were so improved a year ago. On the ends, Hall and Chris Long combined for 19.5 sacks. Linebacking core, coach mentioned a moment ago. New additions, Lieber and Potinga to join the man in the middle, James Laurinaitis. And in the secondary, the former Eagle Pro Bowler signed to a 4-year deal. Quentin Michael starts at free safety. Poor throw by Vick. He had time to set his feet, threw it on the run, and slowed down.
Yeah, that's twice now that the Rams have let Michael Vick get outside the edge of their defense. They talked all day on Friday, Tom, about keeping Michael Vick bottled up on these first 2 plays. They haven't done that.
3rd and yard. Direct snap to McCoy. Slips to the inside, and LaShawn McCoy has a first down up to the 29-yard line. Boy, is he dynamic out of the backfield, running and receiving.
Yeah, we got a little trickeration here. He just steps in, comes across the formation. I don't know that in a 3rd and 1 you need this kind of trickeration. I know you got a lot of talent. I'd have preferred maybe a more straightforward downhill, but this is what LaShawn McCoy brings to them, much like Michael Westbrook did for years and years in Philadelphia.
Trying to break it the other way, beats Robbins to the corner. What a nice play in the open field made by the former Eagle Pro Bowler, Quentin Michael.
Yeah, Quentin Michael saved a big play here. McCoy's going to work his way back across the field. He got outside that edge, and had he not made this play, he might have gone to the house.
They'll call the gain of 3, 2nd down and 7 on this opening possession of the game. Playing in a dome, the rookie center, Jason Kelce. Play clock down to 1. They didn't get it off.
And this was a concern for Andy Reid. We talked about, obviously, anytime you come
delay
into
of
a
game,
dome,
offense, 5-yard penalty, still 2nd down.
you got a rookie center in Jason Kelce. There's a lot of line calls that he has to make. Obviously, in a dome makes it more and more difficult. Until you've done it, that is a lot for a rookie center to deal with.
Hey, lucky.
2nd and 12, they'll hand it off. And McCoy shot down in the backfield. That's James Hall. Penalty flag is down.
Offense, number 71. The penalty is declined. 3rd down.
3rd down, they decline the penalty.
Yeah, they're going to get this called on the left side right here on Peters. As he goes inside, he kind of jumped inside on him. I'm not sure he really held him, but he had his hands outside on the shoulder pads. That's going to get called every time.
So now, a 3rd down and 18. Goes Vick. And then he apparently kept that knee from touching the ground, escaped briefly, but he's sacked. They brought Bradley Fletcher off the corner to get him.
Well, Bradley Fletcher's coming off the edge, and it's like Vick had no idea. Nope, he thought the receiver on the edge was going to chip. That's not Michael Vick's fault. There should have been a hat on Fletcher. He thought it should have been picked up. It was a mistake by the receiver who had the edge. Surprised Vick coming off the backside.
Eagles line allowed 49 sacks a year ago, 4th most in the NFL. So you can understand why all the changes. First NFL punt by the rookie Chaz Henry, and it's a short one. Amendola dropped it, but covers it up. A great field position for the opening possession for the Rams at the Eagle 47.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com.
Very sluggish start. They've been talking about that offensive line going up to 2 or 3 days before the season starts.
Well, it's a combination of the kickoff rule we've already seen come into effect that had them backed up. The offensive line iffy, Michael Vick under pressure virtually every snap, and now St. Louis gets to start out with favorable field position.
They call him the Beast. That's Steven Jackson, and he is inside the 10 and a touchdown. Not a bad start for the Rams.
Well, you can see right here, we talked about this young linebacking core. I want you to watch as he comes in the line. Stop right there. They have over-pursued. The slot man comes up and protects. That turns into a touchdown for Steven Jackson. This is a load, man. You stand in a room with this guy. This is a big, big man. And there's a smile on this guy's face when he talks about the matchup with that young linebacking core of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Now Josh Brown for the point after, and it is good. Steven Jackson, 6 straight years has rushed for better than 1,000 yards, and a good start, his first carry in 2011.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some Buds.
$7-0 St. Louis. Big touchdown run on the first carry for Steven Jackson, and first-year defensive coordinator Juan Castillo already trying to figure things out.
Well, Juan's enthusiastic. He wants his team to be physical and play fast, but you got to get aligned properly. We've already talked about that young linebacking core aligning itself. You got to work in tandem.
Lewis will think better of bringing this one out. For 11:14 to go in the opening quarter, 7-0 Rams in front. Coach Billy, before this game ever began, you talked about a couple of the issues they've been talking about in Philly for the better part of 3 weeks. This offensive line, their linebacking core, and despite all the big-name free agents, it's still a team game.
Yeah, Casey Matthews is a rookie inside at middle linebacker, but he's got a second-year guy, a third-year guy in Foku, and a second-year guy in Cheney that he's working with. That's a very young group. On the other side of the ball, we talked to James Laurinaitis in St. Louis. He talked about how comfortable he is having long-time veteran guys with him now. That second level of linebackers is so key to getting a defense to mesh right.
Play clock down to 2. They didn't get it off. It didn't look like. Well, no flag. Yes, they didn't get it off. That's the second time it's happened to Vic and the Eagles offense.
Prior to the snapping of the ball, Philadelphia has called their first timeout. Timeout, Philadelphia.
Kelsey is having some issues making his line calls, and you can expect that from a rookie. As we anticipated, Laurinaitis and that St. Louis group is very, very active.
Well, now we understand they got the timeout called just before the delay of game penalty. Second most penalized team in the league a season ago, but boy, offensively, the Eagles rewrote team history. Most points in a year, most total yards in a year, second most touchdowns in a year. Only New England and San Diego scored more, but the sacks were an issue.
Yeah, and you're talking about a team that's been 2 division titles in the last 2 years, and yet they come in and blow this team up because they knew they had to be different.
Batted down at the line of scrimmage. And again, Vic under heavy pressure. Right now, game break time. Let's return to Kurt Menefee in Los Angeles.
Well, another quick score. Baltimore against Pittsburgh. Joe Flacco hooking up with Anquan Bolden, 27 yards on the score. A 3-play, 1 minute, 42-second drive to start the year. And Baltimore's on top of Pittsburgh, 7-0 in the early going. Tom and Brian.
Kurt, thank you very much. Your old team, the Ravens, you won a Super Bowl with that team 11 years ago.
Always a great game against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Good protection this time. Looking down the field, and somehow, some way, the catch is made by Deshaun Jackson.
Wow, now that's just throwing the ball up for grabs to a guy. I don't know that I want to throw a jump ball to Deshaun Jackson. He's usually going to get behind the secondary. But Michael Vick having great deal of confidence, obviously, in his arm to get it there. And Deshaun Jackson, they just lost sight of it. That's a great catch by Jackson. The secondary lost sight of the ball. That easily could have been a pick.
Jackson, a brief holdout once training camp began in the final year of his 4-year rookie contract. Still looking for that big payday, but he is their Ryan Howard, their big home run hitter. Fourth row to the open fullback, Owen Schmidt, 2nd and 10.
I want to show you something here, Tom, that's putting a lot of pressure on Kelsey, the center. Because they're in gun so much, look, his head is down. Because of the gun, he's got to get his head down to account for Vic. Now he's got to look up. You can see Laurinaitis. He's right there in the gap. This is a lot for a center to have to deal with. He puts his head down. Laurinaitis and the other linebackers in and out of the gaps. There's a lot to communicate with the offensive line. Here you can see it again. Up into the line of scrimmage. They're making it tough on this rookie.
McCoy on the pitch to the right. And Laurinaitis. Boy, what a pickup Laurinaitis has been. Second round out of Ohio State. Their leading tackler each of his first 2 years in the league, and there is no question as to who the leader of this St. Louis defense is.
Yeah, and that's amazing because you're talking about a third-year guy. He's sucked up into the line here, trying to draw the offensive call. Look at the lateral movement by Laurinaitis. And he can do that because he knows the edge is contained because of the nature of the defense.
3rd and 11. Perfect throw. And the catch made by Jason Avant, the sure-handed possession receiver out of Michigan. Set a career high with 51 catches a year ago. A forgotten man a lot of times in this offense. A late penalty flag.
Penalty is half the distance to the goal. First down.
A personal foul against number 99, C.J. Ayu.
Nice job on protection. They're going to commit the tight end and the back on the end, and then they're going to move Vic in the pocket. This buys that little extra time to allow him to get the ball down the field. Starts in the inside, breaks to the back to the outside. Just a clean out route. This takes time for that route to develop, and the athleticism of Michael Vick. Go ahead and commit the extra guy to it.
Ayu hitting Vick late, tacking on 15 more. So 1st and goal at the 10. Inside handoff to Ronnie Brown, another free agent signee. Former #1 pick by the Miami Dolphins. Racked up nearly 4,900 yards his first 6 years in the league with Miami.
Tom, this is where the Eagles ought to be better this year. Their running back core is a solid one. They added Ronnie Brown. They got Dion Lewis in the draft. This is a team beyond just Michael Vick that if they want to commit to some runs, and this is an area you'd love to be able to run the ball, they're capable of doing that now.
Vick fires into traffic. He had an eye again on Avant. And Laurinaitis here to break it up. 3rd and goal.
Well, that's a risky throw down here in the red zone. To come out flat like that, throw it into coverage. Michael Vick, when you sit and visit with Michael Vick, it was shocking to me the first time I met him. This is not a big guy. He has got to move around the pocket to get vision on his receivers. He's not one that's just going to sit in behind the protection. He's going to move from one side to the other.
McCoy to the end zone. Great play call, middle of the field, wide open. They just drop it off to LeSean McCoy. And a 7-yard touchdown throw for Vick.
Well, this is just what's called a little tunnel screen. Everybody's looking wide, Vick looking to the end zone, and then you drop this thing underneath with a guy like McCoy that's got a little bit of shake and wiggle, yet can get physical when he has to. You're right. Great play call. Spread the defense out and hit him right down the middle. That's the same as a trap or a draw.
So now the first point after attempt for Alex Henry. We mentioned both the place kicker and the punter. Rookies on this Eagle team. And it's good. So the big play to Jackson leads to the touchdown. We're tied at 7.
Today's game is sponsored by the Ford F-150, the only truck available with EcoBoost. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by KFC Popcorn Chicken. Today tastes so good.
7-7 game. 8:13 to play in this opening quarter. Michael Vick on the 7-yard touchdown throw to LeSean McCoy.
Well, great response by a veteran team, Tom. You and I are always talking about how does a team emotionally respond. Philadelphia coming out with a tough start, and they responded emotionally with a good long scoring drive.
And the kickoff, as we talked about throughout the preseason, now to 35. And Jarius Norwood brings it out to the 18.
To all of those who lost their lives and to the families that were left behind, we will never forget you.
We will never forget indeed. Flight 93, Shanksville, Pennsylvania, the Pentagon, and of course the World Trade Center in New York. No words we could ever utter could make up for the feelings of those who passed or have relatives that passed or friends. But we are thinking about you, and we appreciate the great job the men and women are doing to still protect the greatest country in the world. Take a look at the Rams offensively. Outstanding tackles, Saffold and Jason Smith. They brought in Harvey Dahl from Atlanta. You know about Steven Jackson, Amendola, the one-time Eagle, their leading receiver a year ago. Play fake to Carnell Williams. First throw for Bradford. And he finds his favorite target from last year, Danny Amendola. And that's good enough for a first down. All the big names, all the changes defensively. It starts up front. Jenkins, along with Babin, new additions. Casey Matthews, the rookie in the middle. Foku and Chaney have swapped positions. And, of course, Nnamdi Asomugha signing minutes after free agency began, leaving Oakland. First down carry to Carnell Williams, making his Rams debut. Right now, let's take a game break and return to Kurt Menefee.
Two teams on the rise, Detroit and Tampa going at it in week one. Matthew Stafford's pass off the fingertips of his tight end Will Heller into the arms of Aqib Talib. 28 yards on the score. Bucs leading in the first quarter. Tom, Brian, and Laura.
All right, Kurt, thank you very much. Steven Jackson out of the game for a second straight play, and for a second straight carry, they hand it to Williams. And he has the first down up to the 45. Jackson left the field, went back into the locker room after that 47-yard touchdown run. Laura Open, what can you tell us?
Well, he was in the locker room with the trainer for a pretty long spell. He's back out on the field. Got to keep an eye on his right leg. St. Louis is calling it a strained right quad. He came back. We saw that run, but he's on the sideline right now. I'll keep you updated.
All right, Laura, thank you very much. On first down, Bradford to throw, crossing pattern to Amendola. And that's a gain of close to 3, and Jackson is over on the bicycle on the Rams sideline.
Yeah, I don't want to speculate on what's gone on. Obviously, first game, the tightness, whether it's cramping, hopefully it's not a pull. Just keep himself warm. St. Louis heavy into this no huddle. They're attacking this Philadelphia Eagles defense.
Reed and a nice tackle by Jamar Chaney. You know, played so well in 3 starts down the stretch late last year.
We talked with Sam Bradford and new offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels. There's a smile on Sam Bradford's face in terms of the tempo and the style of play that they were now going to have in St. Louis. He was excited about today.
On a 3rd and 8, Bradford steps up, delivers a strike. The ball is fumbled. It's then picked up, and they're saying an incomplete pass. In and out of the hands, the rookie out of Wisconsin, Lance Kendricks, getting his first chance to make a play in the NFL. A flag down in the backfield.
Illegal use of the hands of the face, defense. Number 93, 5-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
That's Jason Babbitt.
Well, that is a tough one to swallow. You've got them off the field on a 3rd and long here, the rookie, Lance Kendricks. Does he have a catch? No, they ruled it incomplete. They have high expectations for this rookie out of Wisconsin. But to now have a team off the field and they're back on the field on the other side of the 50, that's a painful penalty.
Carnell Williams inside the 35, getting carries with Jackson sitting on the sideline. And after all those great years, through all those terrible knee injuries, Williams getting a chance in St. Louis.
That was the same play that Jackson scored on, just a cut back out of the eye. We'll get a chance to show it to you in a minute, but right now, St. Louis staying with this no-huddle philosophy. It's moving the ball pretty good.
Williams again. And why not continue to run it? He's inside the 30.
Yeah, let me go back, and you're going to see here. This is the same play we saw on the touchdown. If you stop it right here, again, they overflow. No secondary help. Right now, the Philadelphia Eagles are not meshing up very well on defense. Part of it may be because St. Louis in this no-huddle mentality, you have to get very basic if you're a new defense. You can't get a lot of calls in if you're facing a team in no-huddle.
Bradford fell down and lost the football. Jaquay Parker. No penalty flags on the field. It is a touchdown for Parker and the Eagles after Darryl Tapp stripped it away from Bradford.
Boy, this is unfortunate for St. Louis, not Philadelphia. Philadelphia's feeling pretty good about it. Boy, they had it going so well. Here you can just see the mesh. It's almost like Williams wasn't sure he was going to get it. All of a sudden he goes down. Now he can't get out of the trap. And now you get a quick scoop and score. Juan Castillo's got to love. He's been preaching all along. Just keep coming. Keep the tempo up. Keep the tempo up. Just keep going after him. It yielded a touchdown there.
Second career touchdown for Jaquay Parker. He returned one 55 yards back in 2008. The Eagles lead for the first time. Tap the strip. Jaquay Parker returns it for a touchdown. We told you Parker returned an interception 55 yards for a touchdown back in 2008. That came with 38 seconds remaining in the fourth quarter to seal an Eagles win against San Francisco. Henry puts a foot on it. And again, Norwood going to bring it out. He only reached the 18 the last time. He'll do slightly better than that this time, up to the 24. In September, looking into October, the American League's best teams will look to the brightest stars for the newest hero to lead them into a fall classic. Our exclusive coverage of the American League Championship Series begins October the 8th, only on Fox. Of course, they have a pretty fair baseball team in Philadelphia. Not a bad starting rotation. Let's run Cole Hamels out there in a game 3. Like your chances. Again, it's Cadillac Williams, and let's quickly send it back to Curt Menefee in Los Angeles.
And we quickly have a Chicago Bear touchdown. Jay Cutler hooking up with Matt Forte. This all came off of Brian Urlacher interception against the Falcons. They did it 56 yards, and the Bears on top of Atlanta, 10-3. That one late in the first quarter. Tom, Brian, and Laura.
All righty, Curt Menefee, thank you very much. 3:25 to play in the opening quarter. Still no Steven Jackson since he ran a 47-yard touchdown in the first play from scrimmage. Slightly underthrown, or it would have been a huge gain for Badgerman. Nonetheless, a first down up to the 42.
Well, and one of the reasons for this no huddle, one of the difficulties for Josh McDaniel with Juan Castillo, you have no history. What do I look at? How do I know what he's going to run? So by going no huddle, I can maybe calm it down and get a sense of what his defensive philosophy may be. This is a good move by offensive coordinator Josh McDaniel.
Well, Cadillac Williams looks strong here in the first quarter. We saw Tampa Bay a lot last year. LeGarrette Blount, of course, took over as their primary back. Talked about McDaniels, former head coach the last 2 years in Denver. People forget Kyle Orton set career highs in virtually every statistical category. The Broncos last year were 7th in the league in passing yards.
And you can see there, he's still calling this now. This is more a sugar huddle. Maybe a no huddle is a misnomer, because they are quick huddling or getting the calls from the sideline.
Take it one way, and a dangerous throw And you're throwing in the ball hawking area of Asante Samuel. Let's check in downstairs with Laura Oakman.
I'm going to continue with the Steven Jackson update. He came out, wanted to test that leg. We saw he was able to get that burst and get some nice yardage, but he's not looked good since. He's been on the sideline just shaking his head when any teammate or his running back coach, Sylvester Croom, came up to him. Doesn't look good right now, guys.
That is a big, big hit, not only in the running game, but also the receiving game. Parnell Williams inside the 45, down to the 40, we'll call it 43-yard line. Will bring up a 3rd down and 5. Juan Castillo spent the last 13 years as the offensive line coach under Andy Reid. I guess 2 ways to look at it, Brian, is Andy Reid's nuts by making him the defensive coordinator, or a smart move. I mean, who would know more about creating problems for the offense than a former offensive line coach?
Juan Castillo is a heck of a football coach. He's just going to have to learn quick here on the job training. He's a play caller in the National Football League, but he's a good coach. He'll do a good job.
36. And Samuel all over the tight end, Billy Badgema. The Rams will punt it.
And that's a key thing for St. Louis. 3rd downs. They were a decent team in 3rd down last year, but oddly enough, it was 3rd and medium that gave them the biggest problem. You think normally that favors the offense, but that's going to be a challenge for Sam Bradford. They've got to be better on 3rd down, particularly when you can get into a 3rd and medium like that.
Jeremy Maclin, playing in his hometown of St. Louis, drops back. And his teammate Jackson will watch it bounce into the end zone. So the minute 7 to play in the opening quarter, the Eagles with a 7-point lead. I'd like to tell you about what's going on with the NFL today, holding a special auction to benefit 9/11 charities. Autographed game-worn jerseys from today's game, along with today's game ball and other unique NFL items, will be auctioned to raise money for Tuesday's Children and My Good Deed, 2 great organizations. Please visit NFL.com/auction today to bid if you're able. Good protection. Throw to the sideline, and Jackson is there for the catch. 2nd and 3.
Well, we're seeing both teams break the formation with their personnel. One of the things that will do to help Philadelphia by taking your fullback, your extra running back, your tight end, and flexing them out, it reduces the number of bodies in the defensive front. Might make it easier for Kelsey to make his line calls when you spread them out that way.
First carry for the rookie Dion Lewis. 5th round pick out of Pitt. He had an outstanding preseason. In fact, in the final game against the Jets, rushed for 62 yards. They very much like the way he might fit into this offense.
Yeah, and you can see here, this is coming out of the draft. A elusive guy. He's a hit and spin type of guy. Needs to be able to also punt return and kickoff return. He will provide a specific role for Philadelphia.
Well, that's the end of the opening quarter. Eagles 14, Rams 7. Fox NFL Sunday continues after these messages. Set to begin the 2nd quarter in St. Louis. Eagles, thanks to a big turnover, a 14-7 lead. Boyd tries to stretch it to the outside, cuts it back to the inside, and picks up close to 4. Some of the numbers from the opening quarter. And you know, Brian, nobody gets more tired of hearing about turnover differential than me. But boy, the more you look at it, the more it makes all the difference.
Well, it offsets. Almost 100 yards rushing in the first half, but it gets offset by that turnover right there. Not only physically on the field, but emotionally as well.
been a staple for Andy Reid teams over his 13 years, winning the turnover differential and plus all the wins. Vic under heavy heat from Laurinaitis. Rather, Poppinga just brought in as a free agent. Started for 3 years in Green Bay till Matthews arrived.
They're bluffing here, and then all of a sudden they shoot the gap right there with both of them. One guy was supposed to peel. They were vulnerable there. That might have been a big play, but fortunately, Vic gets pressured enough that it's a bad pass. Looks like Laurinaitis was supposed to blitz and peel and go with the back to the half. They dodged a bullet there.
You're just picking me up. I appreciate it. I got your back, big fella.
Yeah, it's Ohio State guy. We got to take care of it.
All right, a 3rd and 7. Blitz coming. Vic too high. Looking for Jeremy Maclin. Justin King applying the pressure off the corner. Let's send it back to Curt Menefee in Los Angeles.
It didn't work in your game, but every now and then a high pass does. Ryan Fitzpatrick throws it up. Stephen Johnson goes up and gets it. 27-yard score, and the Bills lead in Kansas City 14-0. Tom and Brian.
All righty, Curt, thank you. We saw Kansas City in the preseason. They had a very favorable schedule last year, winning the AFC West. It'll be a tougher time for them this year. Former Florida Gator. Was a touch by Amendola. He thought it was. He knew it was. He covered it up. And I mean right on top of him down there in case he made a mistake. It was Colt Anderson. Looked like it hit Anderson first.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Burger King, who reminds you to have it your way. By DirecTV, this season NFL Sunday Ticket is included when you switch. And by the Chevy Season of Doing event.
An animated Steve Spagnuolo over on the sideline with his defense. Coming up this November, Fox Sports steps into the octagon with an epic heavyweight title fight. Number 1 ranked contender in the world, Junior Dos Santos, squares off with undefeated world champion Cain Velasquez. Must-see mixed martial arts event right here on Fox for the UFC Heavyweight Championship of the World. Saturday, November the 12th, only on Fox. Still no Steven Jackson. On the Rams' first play from scrimmage, he went 37 yards and blasted off the corner. Is Bradford, and that's the first sack in his second go-round with the Eagles for Jason Babin.
That's just a mistake on the right side here. That right tackle should have opened. Sam Bradford had every reason to believe that Jason Smith was going to open up to Babin. That's one of those shockers. You can't imagine where he came from. That's just a mental error by the right tackle, Smith.
Second down and 18. The first man through. They give it to the fullback, Brent Miller. That's a nice pickup on second down. Up to the 32-yard line. Imaginable third down coming up.
Well, you just sneak one of these in here every once in a while, 1 or 2 times. You just all of a sudden they're flowing, thinking the pitch man, and you hand it to the fullback. He'll probably have maybe half a dozen to a dozen carries a year. None bigger than that.
Well, second and 18 has become third down and 6. Well, Bradford just does not look very sharp early on. There's a flag down the field, and this could be pass interference against Philadelphia. It is.
Prior to the pass, illegal contact, defense, number 22, 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
That's 2 third downs now. You can see here just a little double move. Boy, I tell you what, Yeah, I guess technically there was contact, but that's 2 third downs that the Philadelphia Eagles had the Rams off the field that the Rams got to extend because of penalties. One was a hands to the face, and now with that defensive pass interference.
Williams met at the line of scrimmage. Trevor Laws in there, followed up by Moses Foku. How big a deal, Coach Billick, is it that Cheney and Foku have switched sides of the field at the linebacker spot? Big deal or no?
It can be. That's more of a transition. It's like a guard going to left side to right side. You're thinking, oh, how bad is that? Well, yeah, it changes your whole world. And these aren't real experienced guys, 2 and 3 years respectively. It's a bit.
Williams out of the backfield. He beat Cheney, and that's a first down crossing midfield. And we cross the country and check in again with Kurt Menefee.
And we send it back to the East Coast where the Ravens were up 14-0 on the Steelers. That was before Ben Roethlisberger hooked up with Emmanuel Sanders on an 11-yard score. That cut the deficit in half. It's still 14-7. Ravens on top. Tom, Brian, and Laura.
Kurt, thank you very much. First down and 10 for Bradford and the Rams right in midfield. Rams trailing 14-7. Good coverage this time by Cheney on Williams. Incomplete.
Well, the Eagles haven't begun to slow the Rams down in the running game, so I imagine we're going to still see a heavy dose of that. And then just what we saw, Sam Bradford with the play action fake off of it. They've gotten out of the no huddle or the sugar huddle. Obviously, Josh McDaniels feels like he's got a little bit better bead on this Philadelphia Eagle defense, more specifically the way Juan Castillo wants to call it.
Rams being forced to operate without their #1 weapon on offense. Tried to set up the screen, read beautifully by Philadelphia defensively. It's third down and 10. Jackson is standing, but at his own 40-yard line.
In the area. Third down.
And doesn't appear anywhere close to coming back into this game. Laura, what do you know?
You know, I know he was so excited about his matchup today. He wanted to pick on those linebackers all day. He told me he's looked so disappointed. The Rams aren't going to let us know anything officially until halftime, but it sure doesn't look like he's any close to returning.
Man, 1 carry, 47-yard touchdown, has not returned. Blitz coming. Bradford steps up and delivers a strike for a first down to Amendola. He beat Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, who came over in the Kevin Cobb trade from Arizona.
Well, we were wondering what were they going to do with Amendola here in the slot right here. Who were they going to put on him? They put Rodgers-Cromartie. That is a tough coverage duty for a corner. You're inside on a slot. It's basketball on grass. You got a 3-way break. Right, left, and vertical down the middle. That's tough duty for any DB.
First carry for the one-time Falcon, Jarius Norwood, trying to come all the way back from a very serious knee surgery. Speaking of serious, Mike Patterson made the tackle there, and by all accounts from those who were on hand during training camp with the Eagles, that 4-minute seizure suffered by Mike Patterson, missed 18 days of training camp. He's played more games than anybody else right now wearing an Eagles uniform, and it's great to see him back.
And that's a huge, both the pickup of Cullen Jenkins and him back is a huge for this defense with Babin and Cole on the outside.
Well, all we heard about was Lance Kendricks and all the great days he was having in training camps. That's 2 drops in his NFL debut.
That's just rookie nerves right there. This is the leading receiver in the history of the University of Wisconsin. Started out as a wide receiver. This is a tremendous athlete, but obviously the rookie nerves are showing up here because those are 2 big drops.
That was a big problem for the Rams last year. They have the 5th most dropped passes in the league. Blitz coming. And Gibson can't hang on. Darryl Tapp put a hit on Bradford.
Well, this is the experience of Bradford now. This is a huge opportunity. Both sides said, please blitz us, because out of blitz comes the possibility for a big play. So when all of a sudden you get blitzed, you have the opportunity to gash in the middle, and then the ball's dropped. Very frustrating for the Rams.
Josh Brown, one of the big legs in the NFL. This will be a 49-yarder. And it sneaks inside the left upright. Don't forget, the Rams are going with an undrafted free agent as their long snapper, Jake McQuaid, 14-10 game.
To the men and women of the military, police, and emergency response teams, thank you.
Back in St. Louis, a 14-10 game on this September 11, 2011. Lewis going to bring it out again. And again, not a wise decision. That's twice the rookie's done it. And twice he hasn't made it to the 15. Juan Castillo and the Eagles D holding the Rams to a field goal.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Chevrolet and their award-winning cars, trucks, and crossovers.
Eagles starting this possession, 10:01 to play until halftime, leading 14-10 from their own 13-yard line. Vick looking down the sideline and through the fingers of the intended target, DeSean Jackson.
That was a well-thrown ball against a cover two with the safety bearing down on him. That hit him strictly right in the hands. You can't throw that any better on Michael Vick's part, and DeSean Jackson knows it. He was out to the races. That would have been a 90-plus yard touchdown.
And of course, that's his MO. With his 26 career touchdowns, 19 have been from 30 yards or longer, including 7 of them last year.
Jackson's up here. May want to go to him again.
Vick eludes the first wave and then misses the wide open Jason Avant. Chris Long trying to run him down.
Well, we talked about it early in the game that Michael Vick, they're talking something here. We got somebody downfield that doesn't belong, looks like.
An eligible member of the offense illegally downfield, number 68. Penalty is declined. Third down.
Yeah, early in the game, Vick was getting outside of this pressure. You can tell the ends crashing down here on Michael Vick. Then they started to move him around a little bit, settle down a little bit. Early it didn't start well. Anytime he gets outside the pocket is in their favor. Look to get Michael Vick on the run a little bit more.
Great protection this time. And it's Macklin back in his hometown. He went to Kirkwood High School and moved on to the University of Missouri.
Well, they're showing pressure here, but then they all fall out. This is a three-man rush. If you're only going to have a three-man rush against Michael Vick, you better get your hands on these wide receivers, because he's going to have a long time to sort out where he wants to go.
That was Harriman's working on Long. Harriman just moved from left guard to right tackle with all the changes in that line. Of course, Macklin had a summer health scare, got tested for lymphoma and other serious illnesses, did not play at all in the preseason.
Well, He's a big part, obviously, in combination with Deshaun Jackson, particularly with the Michael Vick at quarterback. The ability to move around. You throw in Jason Avant, but yet we've seen Stephen Smith. That's a gifted, athletic receiving corps.
Vick tucks it away, picks up close to 3, and let's go back to Kurt Menefee for a game break.
Well, the Cleveland Browns, a popular pick today in a lot of suicide pools, mine included. Colt McCoy trying to help us out, hooking up with Ben Watson, 34 yards on the score. They were down 13-0 at one point. It's a little bit closer, 13-7 approaching halftime. Tom Bryant.
14-10. Closing in on 8 minutes until halftime. It's a 3rd down and 6. And the play clock down to 1. They spent a timeout. They've already had 1 delay of game penalty. Nearly had a second. We'll be back. For 8 years, Steve Spagnuolo, an assistant on Andy Reid's staff with the Eagles before a 2-year stint as coordinator with the Giants. And now they go toe-to-toe in this season opener. 3rd and 6. Good route, good throw, good catch by Jackson. They move the chains.
Yeah, again, you can see the same thing. They show pressure, and then they drop out. It's another 3-man rush. This 3-man rush is not going to do it against Michael Vick. If you think him sitting back there that he's not going to be able to find these receivers, if I'm St. Louis, I'm going to get back to that earlier pressure that I saw in the first quarter.
Vick 6 out of 14, 106 yards and a touchdown. Looked like the defender fell down. A 1st down to Avant to the 34. Of course, the story has been told many times 2 years ago. The number 1 pick was Vick by the Atlanta Falcons. Following an 18th-month stay in prison for fighting and killing dogs, the Eagles took a chance on Vick. He turned it into a Comeback Player of the Year award and a $100 million contract. Of course, that has been reported as a $100 million deal. There are lots of outs and clauses and so forth. It may not turn out that way. But they want him as their quarterback, and that's a big reason why.
Yeah, this is lethal against Michael Vick. I said St. Louis has got to get back to pressuring. I want you to watch here now. They get all wadded up in here. You cannot leave him that alley. Both the end and the tackle got pushed upfield. You have to have lane integrity in order to keep Michael Vick bottled up. You give him a hole like that, he's going to be off to the races.
19-yard run. Vick this year passed Randall Cunningham for the most rushing yards by a quarterback in the history of the NFL. Greg Dole able to come up and slow down McCoy just enough. 2nd down.
Yeah, I was fortunate to have Randall Cunningham late in his career. He, like Michael Vick, very much wanted to show he could be a pocket quarterback, a guy that could win from the pocket. We actually had to get to the point we had to kind of push Randall out of the huddle, say, you know what, we're out of the pocket. It's okay for you to still run. You don't have to do that with Michael Vick. He sees a hole like that. He's going to take it.
Ball stripped, and the Rams have it. Quentin Michael, Vick's former teammate, on the safety blitz, catches Vick on the blind side, and Laurinaitis covers it up.
Boy, that is a tough one after a play-action pass. He went play fake to the left on the backside. In order to sell it, your offensive line has to sell it out to the play fake side. If someone extra comes off the edge, you got no IDs there. Obviously, Michael Vick didn't. Here you're going to see it. You're going to see the play fake going here, and then that's deep now. I can see where Michael Vick had no idea that he was going to come from that depth. It caught him off guard.
And now 5:10 to play until halftime. Still no Steven Jackson. It's Carnell Williams replacing him. If you're just joining us, Steven Jackson on the first play from scrimmage rushed 47 yards for a touchdown. He has not been back in the game since. Turnovers even now at 1 apiece. Well, we so much enjoyed our visit with Steven Jackson. Boy, what a very articulate, sharp, pleasant young man he is.
Yeah, I tell you what, he was bright-eyed and excited about this game. Hopefully that's not a long-term deal.
Bradford having to get off the deck once again. We made a lot about the offensive line and what they're doing for Vic. What about the offensive line for Bradford? He's been under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and it's a different built offensive line than we talked about with Pittsburgh, or excuse me, with Philadelphia. You're talking about a first and second round draft choice in Peters, or excuse me, with Smith and Saffold coming off the edge, and they've got a bunch of free agents that they went out and acquired on the inside. That's the way they chose to build their offensive line.
The 3rd down and 7. I don't think it's enough for a first down. It's a catch by Brandon Gibson, but a good tackle made by Jared Page, and it's 3 and out for the Rams after that turnover.
Yeah, this is on the receiver. The receiver in this situation has to settle down at the first down depth. The quarterback's under a lot of pressure. You got to know that in this situation, the catch gives you the first down. He pulled up a little short.
Sean Jackson has 4 punt returns for touchdowns during his career, including one of the more memorable plays from last season to beat the Giants. Ball will be down to the 31. While we have a moment, we'd like to welcome the men and women in uniform serving around the world. Watching today's broadcast in 175 countries on AFM, the American Forces Network. We can't thank you for all you do. We hope you're enjoying our telecast. God bless you all and all those abroad and right here, protecting our country.
Tell you what, I had the good fortune of spending 10 days in Iraq with the troops. And you want to feel good about this country, you want to feel good about the future of this country, whether you're in an airport, out and about, just sit and spend 5 minutes with one of our members of the armed services. Young, bright-eyed, mission-driven. They're the best of what America is. I'll tell you what, it's exciting to be around with people.
Tell you who else doesn't get a lot of credit on this 9/11, and when you think of all the things that could have happened in this country over the last 10 years that, thank God, have not. Those that we're probably never going to know.
Absolutely.
That are right here in Homeland Security, the FBI, and so many others. What an unbelievable job they do. 5-yard penalty added to the play, an illegal man downfield for the Rams. So this drive starts at the 35 with 3:40 to play until halftime, and Vic fakes a screen and just throws it in the ground. That's an incomplete pass.
Well, this is just good, smart play by Vic. He's going to see right here, because this is a screen play all the way. You can see the lineman working down the field. He sees right now, I got a problem. This is not going to go well. Tries to salvage it late there a little bit. I don't know that I care for that. That's when you just put into the ground. Don't risk the turnover, particularly on a short field in this situation.
Eagles have 1 timeout remaining.
He's killing the play. This should be a run. No, couldn't get it off.
That's their final timeout of the half.
Yeah, what Vic saw, you can listen here what he's doing to the play. What he's doing is they obviously had a pass on. St. Louis was getting to a very soft defense, a shell 2 defense, which says when I'm in 3 wides and spread out, this is a good running formation. He was killing. That means in the huddle, he had a pass called, and if I say kill at the line, that means I'm going to kill it to whatever run I may have had. Realized he couldn't get it off.
Saw Mike Kafka standing over there on the sideline with Andy Reid when Vic came over. Certainly worth noting that Vince Young, another free agent they brought in, coming from Tennessee, injured his hamstring in a final preseason game. He looked very good in the preseason when he played. But he is inactive today, so Kafka is the backup quarterback. Slant to Jackson, and that's good enough for a first down up to the 47.
Michael Vick is very well suited for the quick game for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is that his throws, he's got a very tight ball. It comes out very quickly, and he's very accurate. A lot of quarterbacks have trouble being accurate in the quick game. Michael Vick doesn't. That's a good pass for him.
They bring the blitz. It's picked up. But Vick tackle maybe picked up a yard again. Let's check in with Kurt.
Apparently, the Indianapolis Colts need more than just Peyton Manning. Today, they're getting stomped by Houston. This is Jacoby Jones, 79 yards on the punt return. They're not even at halftime yet. It's 34-0 Texans all over the Colts. Tom and Brian.
Well, Brian Billick, in your power poll, you're a Texans believer this year.
Just sheer odds at some point. All that talent's going to come to the forefront. Now would be a good time.
To slip a tackle is McCoy, turns a loss into a gain, and McCoy is to the 45. It'll be third down and a yard. You're all over the place. I mean, you're on FoxSports.com, Twitter, at Coach Billick, and if any of you have a question, by the way, it's Coach Billick on Twitter. You're dialed in at halftime.
I'm ready to go, man.
Well, what a player this guy is, LeSean McCoy. Fourth most yards from scrimmage in the NFL last year. He's talking about rushing for 1,300 and catching 90 passes this year. Confusion on 3rd and 1.
Philadelphia's messed up here. Brett Self not quite sure whether he needs to be there or not.
It all depends on the spot.
Yeah, it looks like they got it where based on where they're spotting it. Just a little quick sprint pass, classic in the West Coast offense. That yellow line is not official. He's crossed the line, but it's where they gave him the forward progress enough to where clearly it's a first down.
We're down to a minute 30. Eagles out of timeout. Leading 14-10. Vick rolling. And it didn't look like he got both feet in. Nope. You know, he talked about all the big stars in his Philadelphia offense, and rightfully so. But this Jason Avant is a huge part of their success when they're winning games. This guy's a good player.
Yeah, and when you talk with Marty Morningwig or Michael Vick, his is the name that you come back to so often. We know about Deshaun Jackson. We know about Jeremy Maclin. But Avant's a guy, last year, those 51 receptions, I guarantee you, were key receptions as a big part of this offense.
Blitz coming. They pick up the first wave, and Vick just throws it away, being chased on the second wave. A minute 17 away from our Visa halftime report. The entire gang back together again. Scores and highlights. Indianapolis without Peyton Manning. And all the up to the second stats. The Visa halftime report. 3rd and 10. Vick enough for a first down. He's inside the 30, all the way down to the 24-yard line. And again, the Eagles out of timeouts, and we're under a minute.
St. Louis looks a little disjointed right now. They better get themselves set here.
The throw is short.
Well, Michael Vick, this situation is classic Michael Vick in the 2-minute, particularly when you get into some of the loose prevent defenses. Steve Spagnuolo told us the other day, Michael Vick, he's got 7 pairs of eyes. This guy sees everything. His ability, particularly if you get passive with your rush, because it isn't a 2-minute situation, he can crank off a big run like we saw, and all of a sudden now you're down in scoring territory.
In the traffic, had an eye on Selleck. We've not called his name today. He has had 4 rock-solid years with Philadelphia.
And Michael Vick talked about in the summer that if he's truly going to get where he wants to be, and that is a quarterback that can truly beat you from the pocket, Brett Selleck's got to have a good year. At the end of the year, if Brett Selleck has better than 60 receptions, then I'm going to become a Michael Vick believer that he indeed can beat you from the pocket.
But you're not totally sold on Vick like everybody else.
I still got to see his ability to do that on a consistent basis over 16 games. He's a unique athlete, but in this game today, you got to be able to win from the pocket.
He finds Selleck. That's a step in that direction. We just talked about it. A first down. Clock continues to run.
And the tight end is a great blitz beater, a great zone beater, a great pressure beater here that's going to kill it. But Michael Vick, this is exactly what we're talking about. The tight end can be your best friend. The matchups outside, particularly with the gifted group of receivers that Philadelphia has, you got to know that Brett Selleck's going to get that other linebacker, that nickel back, whoever it is that's down the line in your coverage package, because you got to worry about Jeremy Maclin. You got to worry about Deshaun Jackson, Jason Avant. We just talked about eventually Stephen Smith. Who are you going to put on Brett Selleck? That could be your best matchup.
No timeouts left, and I'm not sure they're going to get this play off.
Well, they got one shot here. Yeah, now at this point they just missed an opportunity.
Coach, I got to ask you, and maybe for all we know,
Penalty, second
they
down.
wanted a little more wiggle room. I mean, the common feeling would be no way, that's crazy. But you never know sometimes over on the sideline. But I mean, Brian, this is a veteran quarterback. This is a long-time head coach. We have seen now 4 or 5 of these where they've either had to delay a game or just got a timeout.
Yeah, this is one you've got to have the faith in your quarterback. Don't get too cute. Don't try to put in too many personnel groupings. Don't try to be too much. Let him get to a play. You've got time to take a shot to the end zone. Still get it on a field goal. This is not great management by Philadelphia, Michael Vick and Marty Martymore.
Well, they had to move the ball, back it up 5 yards.
But they'll use this as a teaching opportunity as well as they go down during the season. We're the first game of the season, guys. The one thing that the no off season, no OTAs, diminished training camp, the specialty situation calls that you didn't get to practice, this is exactly the thing that you probably didn't get to cover enough during this unique off season and preseason.
Vick steps up to the end zone. Is that a catch? No, it looked like it hit the ground. I think Jackson knew it hit the ground.
Boy, what a heck of a throw. No, it moved, it rolled. You'd like to think it was his, unless he had his hand underneath it, didn't look at it. Didn't look like that. This was a heck of a throw by Michael Vick. And it pretty much had to be the end zone shot because anything underneath, you run the risk, particularly with no timeouts. And Philadelphia has no timeouts. You did not have time to run your field goal team on. You'd have had to really hustle up to get it killed. That was not going to be an option for you, so you knew it had to be an end zone shot. I give Michael Vick credit for knowing it had to be there.
Well, we talked about this Eagle team. A rookie punter, rookie field goal kicker. The punter is the holder. Chaz Henry holding for Alex Henry, no relation. Good snap, good hold, and the first try on a field goal in his NFL career is good for Henry, the most accurate kicker in NCAA history out of Nebraska. I guess if you're going to take a chance on a rookie kicker, drafting a guy who's hit 63 out of 65 inside of 50 during his college career, not a bad gamble. But hey, David Akers went to 5 Pro Bowls. I know he missed 2 big field goals in a playoff loss to Green Bay last year. Akers now with a 49.
What do I keep telling you, son? Your potential is going to get me fired. I mean, you're talking about the all-time scorer in the history of your club. Now, this is a good young rookie. And Andy Reid talked about, we talked about it in the open, Tom, this team has been totally made over. And that's an excellent example of it. You're letting the all-time leading scorer in the history of your franchise leave because you've got to get younger and make this team over. Yeah, there'll be some bumps in the road with these young rookie kickers, but so far they look like they're up to the task.
So after this successful field goal try, Henry going to put it on the ground. That's up to the 39-yard line, and there's still 1 second remaining.
Well, you kick the ball like that because you don't want to risk a big return. And figure the guy would do just that. If he just handles it, gets a few yards with 1, you're outside of range for the Hail Mary pass. That you've got to be on the other side of your 40, or you're just pounding dirt here, thinking that you're going to throw up basically an interception.
But I got to ask you though, Brian. I mean, everybody and his brother's been kicking the ball out of the end zone so far in this preseason with a new rule change. If you kick it into the end zone and there's no guarantee. Big difference between a Hail Mary from the 40 as opposed to the 20, right?
Sure, yeah, or like we saw in Green Bay, 108-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. So either way, they did the right thing.
They did not. They say the clock should have run out rather than staying with 1 second left. 17-10, Philadelphia leads at halftime. Coming up next on America's Game of the Week, NFC East rivals collide. The New York Giants take on their longtime division rivals, the Washington Redskins. Others may see Adrian Peterson and the Vikings. They see AFC Championship hopeful San Diego Chargers or other regional action. America's Game of the Week coming up next. Check local listings for the game in your area. That includes, of course, Jim Harbaugh's NFL head coaching debut in San Francisco. Second half kickoff coming up after these messages. Set to begin the second half. We invite you to follow your favorite team all season long. Go to itunes.com/NFL. Back with Laura Oakman and the coach, Brian Billick. Tom Brenneman in St. Louis. Great to have you with us opening weekend of the NFL season. All right, no fooling around. Let's go inside the locker room and right to the nuts and bolts on what's going to happen or should happen here in the second half.
Yeah, I think both for St. Louis. One, a 3- and 4-man rush isn't getting it done. You got to bring that 5th and 6th guy to keep Michael Vick bottled up, and they got to continue to press the run. That's the best matchup they have. That will lead to a play-action fake and the big play down the field that was missing in the St. Louis offense last year, and we've yet to see so far today.
Where Steven Jackson, his first carry, goes 47 yards for a touchdown. Comes back in for one more play. We have not seen him since, and he's the main man in this offense.
Fortunately, they got Williams in there to fill in. If they didn't have him, they'd be in trouble. They can still press the run with Cadillac Williams.
Well, you saw Steven Jackson still shaking his head over on the sideline. And this is Jarius Norwood taking the second half kickoff with some daylight. And a good return. Up to the 45-yard line by Jarius Norwood. There is a penalty flag back to the 23.
During the return, holding number 15 of the return team, 10-yard penalty, first down St. Louis.
Well, you can see here just that, and I don't know that he really got a hold on it. It's just that the defender was falling back. He had his hand obviously up there. I don't know if it's an actual hold right here. The hands outside, but I don't see any real restriction on the part of Schmidt of the Eagles. But they see the hands outside, they're going to call it.
That is a 30-yard differential. Field possession and field position to begin this opening drive of the second half. Bradford takes it one way. What a throw and what a catch made by Billy Badgerman. Let's check in downstairs with Laura Oakman.
I'm going to talk about what everyone wants to know. I talked to Steve Spagnuolo about Steven Jackson, took him in at halftime, they're calling it a pulled quad, tried to see how it was, but he said it's tightening up, so as much as it's killing Steven, he said, we're going to have to sit him. He said it doesn't change anything offensively. They have faith in these two very valuable pickups that they got in Cadillac Williams and Jarius Norwood.
They saw him almost pull up when he was near the final 15 yards of that 47-yard touchdown and carried it one more time. But it appears no more today for Steven Jackson. First catch in a St. Louis uniform for Mike Sims Walker. Signed as a free agent from Jacksonville. Third down on this opening possession.
Yeah, and you don't going back to Jackson. You don't want to mess with the quad now. That can linger a long time. They want Steven Jackson for the long haul. Third down again. Third and medium, third and short has been the nemesis of the St. Louis Rams. It was last year. They've got to convert when you got a convertible third down like this.
Trickery. Look at this. That's Amendola. Well, we saw in practice the other day, they threw it to Jarius Norwood, who throws it back to Bradford, and that's a first down and a completion.
Yeah, they're just trying to get width here. You can see a delay, almost like a screen action. Amendola's going to sneak out. This is a lot to go through for 4 yards, but they're glad they got it, and that was under duress. Sam Bradford taking a hit once he got that ball out of his hands.
Amendola slow to get up. Right back to the run game. And Williams run out of bounds. First time we've called the name of Casey Matthews today. Rookie linebacker, 4th round pick out of Oregon. Of course, he's from a football royalty family, the youngest member. That name Matthews, his grandfather played in the NFL. His dad, of course, longtime Pro Bowler, played 19 years. Uncle Bruce, a Hall of Famer lineman, and you know all about his brother Clay in Green Bay.
That's what they call it, the bloodline. That's a pretty good bloodline.
That's a dangerous throw there by Bradford. Foku running step for step with Sims Walker.
Well, the Rams have run a lot of these crossing routes. Again, we're seeing them stay away from the outside throws with guys like Asante Samuel and Asamoah on the outside. They're trying to get it within the interior of the defense. Haven't been real successful at this point.
Another third down, this time 3rd and 8. Blitz coming. Bradford gets it away, and it's another drop. This time by Amendola. There is a flag down. This could be another big 3rd down flag on Philadelphia.
Personal foul. Roughing the passer. Defense number 58. Contact below the quarterback's knee. 15-yard penalty. Automatic. First down.
Trent Cole knows better.
Yeah, you can see right there. That's the Carson Palmer rule. Whether you roll into it, whether you fall into it, you can't hit the quarterback that low into the knee. That can end a season. This is the third down that the Rams have not converted, that a drive has stayed alive because of a penalty.
Those of you that don't remember, that was an opening round playoff game, Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. And Carson Palmer completed the first pass of the game to the late Chris Henry, and then missed the entire next season with that knee injury.
This is the type of run that's been successful for St. Louis. I want you to watch this. It's just a little counter action. He'll come up, stop. He took just a step and back. That's what's getting these guys to flow and has been working for the Rams. The straight ahead zone stuff, not as good as the quick little counter moves. Didn't need much. Didn't get much.
To finish that Carson Palmer injury on the hit he took. He was able to come back and play the following year. But, boy, it was an ugly injury. And needless to say, a devastating blow to the Bengals' chances that year in the playoffs.
Yeah, and Tom Brady now. Tom Brady with the same hit. Williams limping up just a little bit coming off. Hopefully that's something he can shake off. That would be devastating to have lost both Jackson and Williams.
So now they have Norwood in there. They'll take the handoff. And he's to the 32. Of course, you bring up the name Carson Palmer, and he's decided that he's not going to come back to the Bengals, has demanded a trade, and they've told him, forget about that, it's not going to happen. Look at some of the other notable free agents still unsigned.
Yeah, some of these guys ought to stay retired. You don't want to come back just for the money, but there's some guys on that list that could be helpful to some people, particularly as injuries begin to mount up, typically as they do as we get through the opening weeks of this season.
Bradford sacked by Darryl Tapp. Tapp's been a big factor in this game. Coming off the Philadelphia bench, stripped Bradford of the football back in the opening quarter, which led to a Jaquay Parker touchdown.
Yeah, we talk about Cole and we talk about Babin coming off those edges, but Tapp is very much like a blitzing linebacker type, like you see in the Steelers type of defense. He's had a big influence today.
Third down, they'll hand it off. And to the 29-yard line is Norwood, and out comes a field goal unit. So that sack a huge factor in keeping this drive, or actually stalling this drive.
Yeah, interesting call on a 3rd and long. Clearly one to get you back into field goal position. Not a bad call. If you throw a pass incomplete, you're going to have to punt it. You're out of field goal range. This was a conservative, but probably a good call to get them back into field goal range, see if they can get 3 points on the board.
This from 47 yards out. Brown has already hit today from 49. And that leaks off to the right and no good.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. By Madden NFL 12, available now. EA Sports, it's in the game. And by Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Here we go.
Next weekend on the Fox FX Saturday game of the week. Charles Davis, Gus Johnson bring you all the action. Syracuse going out to the Coliseum to take on USC. The FX Saturday College Football Game of the Week, presented by Russell Athletic. Check local listings for the channel and start time in your area. McCoy on first down, run out of bounds. Is spotted at the 42, make it the 43-yard line.
Philadelphia's ability to run the ball, they could very well lead the league in rushing this year. One reason, obviously, when you throw Michael Vick's 30, 40, 50 yards a game in there, that certainly helps. But with the running back core that they have right now, in and of itself, it's a solid group, particularly when they've added the people they've had that allows them to have the balance to maybe push the run a little bit more than Andy Reid has done in years past.
McCoy picks up the first down up close to midfield, depending on where they spot it. Right behind the first-year center, Jason Kelce. They found him in the 6th round out of Cincinnati, and they like him a lot.
Yeah, their first-round draft choice, Danny Watkins, they thought would start for them at guard. It has not turned out that way. It's not even up today. That would have been a tall order to have 2 interior linemen, both rookies.
Flag down, and this 9-yard pickup for Vick, 10-yard pickup apparently will come back.
Holding, offense number 68, 10-yard penalty, replay, first down.
We were just trying to talk about Danny Watkins. They brought in Kyle DeVan after he was turned loose by Indianapolis. He's been a starter there the last couple of seasons, working in front of Peyton Manning.
And he's a journeyman. You know, he's been with a number of different teams, solid, but it is a veteran presence. That's always a tough call as a coach. You go with the veteran, you know he's not going to make a mistake, but maybe he can't get the job done. Or you go with the rookie that you know is going to make a mistake, might get you beat, but he's a better athlete and probably going to be a better player.
But it's certainly going to be interesting how the whole thing plays out as the season moves forward. You've got Peters and Anchor over there at the left tackle. You bring in Evan Mathis, another journeyman, to be your left guard. Devan, you bring him in a week before the season opener to be your right guard, replacing your #1 pick. Rookie center. You move Harriman, an outstanding left guard, to right tackle, to work under first-year offensive line coach Howard Mudd. They talked him out of retirement. And, of course, they're hoping that Winston Justice can come back and take back over again at right tackle ultimately. A lot of green in front of him. And he appears to have a first down. Flag down in the secondary. Going to go against the Rams.
Holding. Defense number 32. 5-yard penalty after the end of the run. First down.
It's an 18-yard pickup for Vick.
Well, we talked about it before. I want you to watch the way this collapses down in here. When you're going to rush Michael Vick, that's not bottling him up like we talked about with Steve Spagnuolo. You've got to keep your rush lanes, the integrity to the rush lanes. You can't let him get outside. Now you can see that hold on the DB, or excuse me, on the wide receiver that brought about the penalty. But you cannot let Michael Vick get outside of the rush lanes of the defensive line.
Crossing pattern and left alone is Jackson. Penalty flags down yet again, right around the middle of the field. Jackson run out of bounds at the 9-yard line. Will the play stand?
Prior to the pass, illegal contact. Defense number 27. Penalty is declined. Result of the play is a first down.
Yeah, the St. Louis defense breaking down here a little bit. When you see a crosser like this wide open, it means someone fell out of coverage. It's one of you got him, I'll take him deals. And you can see both down in here. Justin King looked like he was trailing in the middle. It's likely he was the one responsible for picking up Deshaun Jackson as he came across the middle of the field.
The 26-yard gain, first and goal, Philadelphia. Steve Smith in the game for the first time. Flag down, and that'll be interference against Bartell, trying to stay with Macklin.
Yeah, you can get away with a little contact down here as long as you don't change the impetus of the receiver, and clearly he did that.
That's a Brian Billick word if there ever was one. Impetus.
Spell that.
I can't, but I know you can.
Let's see.
Illegal use of the hands of the face. Defense number 24. Penalty is half the distance to the goal. Automatic first down.
Over here on the right side. Simple slant route. Got his hand up in there. Interesting. Yeah, that's early. You know, whatever the verbiage is, he came over the top. You can have your hand on the receiver as long as you don't change his progress, and clearly he turned the shoulders there.
Well, they're in the Wildcat. It's Ronnie Brown taking a snap. That didn't fool anybody.
Yeah. And Ronnie Brown's thinking, we need to redesign this play. They met in the middle of that nutcracker. Ronnie Brown's going to tell Marty Morningwig, hey, tell you what, let me explain this Wildcat a little bit better to you. Okay.
Back to the end zone, a touchdown to Jackson. Boy, it appeared momentarily as though there were nothing there, and floated to the back of the end zone, and Jackson runs it down.
It is hard to understand just how hard a throw this is, going to your left like that. That's why you give a guy $100 million, I guess. The ability to make a play like that, spectacular.
Been a big day for Jackson. He had a 40-yard catch early on. Now up over 100 yards in a season opener. Not bad for a guy looking for a new contract.
What's that score?
Deshaun Jackson, his 12th career 100-yard receiving game. Going his 4th year in the league, just starting his 4th year in the league. A 24-10 lead, and again, Jarius Norwood going to bring it out deep into the end zone. And it's very close to the 20. With a couple of touchdown passes today.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Dodge Journey, the search engine for the real world.
It's a big offensive possession for Sam Bradford and the Rams. Their starting right tackle, #1 pick 2 years ago, Jason Smith, is out of the game. Replaced by Adam Goldberg at right tackle. It's a gain of 12 on first down on the completion to Williams.
Tom, we got to go back and look at that touchdown. Michael Vick, this is why you give the guy so much money. That you can't imagine how hard a throw this is. Going to your left, I don't care if you're left-handed or not, to be able, with Brady Papinga just breathing down his neck, to throw up a touchdown pass like that. That's why you give him the money.
Williams on a first down carry, a little pushing and shoving going on down there, right in the middle of all of it. It's Cullen Jenkins.
I thought Cullen Jenkins, you know, with all the pickups that Philadelphia had in the offseason, Tom, and Asamoah and Babin and all the, you know, Stephen Smith come in, and I thought Cullen Jenkins may at the end of the day be the biggest offseason acquisition they made in terms of firming up on the inside to go along with Mike Peterson.
Trent Cole sacks Bradford. There is a penalty flag down. Cole, the two-time Pro Bowler.
Offense, number 62. Penalty is declined. Third down.
Cole has the third most sacks in Eagles history. A lot of people felt like, and he was the first to say, got double-teamed a lot the final 7-8 weeks of last year. But now you bring in a guy like Babin, you bring in Jenkins, as you mentioned, to go with Patterson and others. Well, that's a formidable rotation.
Huge difference when you've got to look to both sides to chip, turn your line, put in tight end presence.
They're going to hand it off, 3rd and 15. Close to a first down, but it's not enough. You think about going for it here?
Boy, you got to think about it. You're down 14, or excuse me, yeah, you're down 14 points. You really haven't stopped Michael Vick in the last 2 quarters. Yeah, it looks like he's going for it. You got to send a message. You got to give your offense a chance, if for no other reason, to keep the St. Louis defense off the field for just a little bit.
Rams were perfect, 6 out of 6 on 4th and 1 last year, best in the NFL. Time is called out by Philadelphia. Spagnuolo, a little time to think about this.
Too much time. 4th and 1. I'd sure like to have this guy in the game, Tom. This is a big play for St. Louis.
4th and a yard, and on a second turn, did Carnell Williams get there? Brian Rolle came up and made a big hit on Williams. And it looks like he has a first down. They say Brian Rolle had the best camp of any Philadelphia Eagle.
And this is interesting because they say Rolle, his one limitation is He's not a real physical take on a block or take on a runner type of guy. He took on a pretty good hit there.
Let's shut it down. Williams out of the backfield on the slant. And he's down to the Philadelphia 43, another first down.
You know, I'm getting a lot of tweets about these wide nines out into here from the Philadelphia Eagles. That creates a real tough rush angle for the tackle. It also leaves them vulnerable to the running game because that puts a lot of pressure on the linebackers that have to cover a lot of ground. So these noted wide nines, the Philadelphia Eagles, it's live by the sword, die by the sword.
Fake the end around. What a play fake. And look into the end zone. And it's overthrown. There's contact. How about the play action fake there by Bradford? Asamoah and Asante Samuel locked up with Gibson in the end zone.
And you watch here, I don't know that Asante Samuel, Asamoah, needed to grab like this. I'm not sure this thing wasn't overthrown. I'm not sure Asamoah didn't give up a cheap one there.
That was Jared Page down there, the safety, along with Asamoah.
That reaches up, don't know that he needed it.
So 41-yard penalty, first and goal inside the 2. And Williams wrapped up, stood up, is short.
Well, this down here on the goal line for the Philadelphia Eagles, this is where the addition of a Cullen Jenkins, the physicality, boy, there's some hit going there, that just rips the head off. But that extra beat, we talked earlier about Cullen Jenkins, Mike Patterson, this is a bigger, more physical Philadelphia team than they've had in a while. We'll see if it shows up here. Oh, that's a killer. That's a killer if they call this on St. Louis for movement.
Ball start. Offense, number 47. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
Get your tight end, Benjamin.
You just see, you'll see his head just pop up here a little bit, little motion, and right there, that's all it needs right there. Movement then by Philadelphia. That goes from touching the goal line. This totally changes now your play calling sequence and what it is you're trying to do.
All right, but you know you're in 4-down territory when you're down by 14.
I'm going to stick with the run here to start.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Would you stay with the run?
That's right. Actually, the throw.
Nearly intercepted. What a great effort by Page. He nearly hung on.
Now here's the problem in here. This is just a nice job. This is almost going the other way, folks. Wow. But now here's the problem. Yeah, if you throw and you complete it, that's great. Now you almost have to throw. If you run the ball, you get half the distance back. You leave yourself in latitude. Now you almost assuredly, unless St. Louis decides, you know what, we're in 4-down territory. We're going to go either way. That would be the only call that would affect your ability to run the ball here.
Moses Fotu runs off the field into the Philadelphia locker room. We'll check in on him. Play clock down to 2. They get it off 3rd and goal. Corner of the end zone, not even close. Amendola was open, and Bradford missed him. Bradford has not been sharp today.
No, and he knows it. He knows Amendola had gotten a step on him. All he needed to do was give it just a little more air. You get anxious. I want you to watch here. Amendola making a nice move going to the corner. Watch how flat that throw is. That just doesn't give the receiver any chance whatsoever. You got to put some air on it like you're throwing into a bucket at the corner of the end zone.
It'll be a 23-yard field goal try for Josh Brown. He's made one, he's missed one, he's made a second. So a little over an entire quarter to play. Rams settled for 3. The penalty still huge in that 1st and goal.
World Trade Center, Pentagon, and Flight 93. We will never forget you.
A minute 9 remaining in the 3rd quarter. Steven Jackson, his first carry of the year, went for 47 yards and a touchdown. He carried the ball one more time, was in the game for one more play, and he is left with a quad injury. 24-13 Philadelphia. Lewis will take a knee. Of course, as we remember, 9/11, 2001, the NFL is holding a special auction to benefit 9/11 charities. Autographed game-worn jerseys from this game, along with today's game ball and other unique NFL items, will be auctioned to raise money for Tuesday's Children and My Good Deed. Visit NFL.com/auction today if you're able to bid on those items. Vick lost his footing, finds his footing, and ho-hum runs for 17. He's zeroing in on 100 yards rushing. There is a penalty flag down on the far sideline.
Goodness gracious, look at, I mean, he should have been down a couple times here. They got him bottled up. And look at the bounce, and now all of a sudden the little burst. That's the thing that separates Michael Vick from other quarterbacks that can run, is that ability to open that burst like a great running back or a receiver going downfield.
Prior to the pass, illegal contact, defense, number 24. That 5-yard penalty is added to the end of the run. First down.
Should be noted, coming into the game, coming into the season, Michael Vick was only 278 yards shy of Randall Cunningham's all-time record for rushing yards by a quarterback. Vick has 7 carries today for 86 yards. Short pickup on first down. Let's go back to Los Angeles to Curt Menefee.
Here's a connection the Lions like today and in the future. Matthew Stafford hooking up for the second time with Calvin Johnson. Stafford has 3 touchdown passes. Detroit leads in Tampa 27-13. And Tom and Coach, don't worry about him limping off the field. He just had a few cramps in the heat in Tampa. He's okay.
Of course, we remember the season opener last year when you got to look at Calvin Johnson there. We had that game, the Lions in Chicago.
He's learned to catch it, take it to the sideline, put it in the box.
All right, end of the third quarter, 24-13, Eagles in front. Fox NFL Sunday continues after a break from your local Fox station. (24-13), Philadelphia with the lead, Philadelphia with the ball. A lot of talk about this offensive line and what they would do, what they might not do. Under first-year defensive line coach, they talked him out of retirement. Howard Mudd, your impressions through 3 quarters of the first game of the year?
Well, we'll see what they're going to do here, but right now, smart move by Michael Vick. Oh, and we got a penalty.
That's going to be a late hit on Vick.
It looked like it was down here at the receiver position. I don't know if somebody held.
Gene Steratore, our referee today.
This may be an illegal pick on the part of Philadelphia. Blocking downfield where they were trying to set up this quick wide receiver wide screen. The longer they talk about it, the more it always worried me because it means they're not quite sure, but they'll sort it out.
There is no foul for offensive pass interference. The contact with the receiver occurs at the line of scrimmage. It will be third down.
And that's what it was, because obviously they were trying to set up some kind of pick screen, but it happened on, you're going to see right here. Right now, that contact right there, boy, I don't know. Kind of pedestrian. I'm glad they didn't stick with it.
Caught from behind is Vick by Justin King. And the Eagles will punt.
Saw the same thing in the first quarter when they brought pressure off the backside of a play-action fake. You're going to see King coming right here, right off that edge here. We saw Fletcher do it earlier in the game. Again, unaware of it because of the fake. He's going to the right, doesn't think he's going to get caught by the backside. This is the one guy that's not accounted for when you sprint away from a defense.
We're down 24-13 with nearly an entire quarter to go. Rams will get the football after the punt by Chaz Henry. That's a good one. Contact made. Wow. Now Colt Anderson's going to come up and say something to an official. Maybe he was blocked into the receiver.
That's what he's pleading right now. No, and he was in front of the defender. I don't know that he's going to get that call. It was not a long, sustained push from behind. So this is going to go, I believe, against Philadelphia.
Anderson claiming that James Butler blocked him into Amendola. Boy, did Amendola take a lick. And now the officials talking about it.
There is no foul for catch interference as a member of the receiving team blocked a member of the kicking team into the receiver. It will be St. Louis's ball. First down, timeout.
I stand corrected. He had his hands on him, and they're saying that that was enough of a push. I don't know the timing of that. I would question.
Today's game is sponsored by Nissan. Innovation for today, innovation for tomorrow, innovation for all. By Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. And by Subway Restaurants. Try the new Oven Crisp Chicken Sandwich today.
Yeah, you know, and okay, yeah, technically, I guess that is a penalty. I just think the timing of it, there wasn't an impetus of a push. I don't know that I don't call the penalty on Philadelphia.
They figured one way, they come back the other way, and that's a rookie who had a couple of drops early out of Wisconsin. Lance Kendrick's a big game.
I'm not sure if I'm not St. Louis. I know we're not necessarily in a 2-minute situation. They had some sex with the no huddle early. Let's see if they want to pick it up again, kind of create a tempo. It doesn't look like they are, but they had some success with their no huddle tempo in the first quarter. I'm not sure I wouldn't try to do it here because, again, time is going to be a factor. We're still better than 13 minutes out. You're certainly not in a desperate 2-minute situation, but saving some time with that sugar huddle they had going before might not be a bad idea.
Catch made by Amendola. He's the guy that took the hit a minute ago on the punt return and appeared to be grabbing something after making that catch. I don't know if it was his arm, his wrist, but you could see it as soon as he made the catch. You thought he might try and get up, and he was unable to do so. Moments ago, Danny Amendola helped to his feet. It appears to be a very serious injury. Quite frankly, it's a very ugly, gruesome injury, and we're not going to look at it again.
Yeah, and hopefully it's something that is not going to keep him out too long term, but it looked pretty serious.
All right, 13-12 to play. 24-13, Eagles in front. A second down and 4 for the Rams, and Bradford out of the shotgun. Everything short, short, short.
Yeah, he's tried nothing down the field, and that's going to be limiting for them.
You know, last year in the first half of games, not the season, first half of games. Look at the numbers for Bradford: 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Second half of games went the other way, 5 and 11.
Yeah, and in that second half of the season last year, and you can see the numbers here, first half to second half, but in the second half of the season, they had 4 out of 5 on the road to start the second half, came home, played poorly against Kansas City, and you can, the typical rookie wall, that's going to affect you.
Incomplete pass on third down, coverage by Samuel. Looked like another drop by a receiver. Let's go to Los Angeles to Kurt Menefee before fourth down.
Well, we will take it to Chicago, where the Bears defense has dominated the Falcons all day, although Matt Ryan's fumble helps out. Ryan Urlacher, who had an interception earlier, scoops it up and scores. It's 30-6. Bears all over Atlanta in the fourth. Tom and Coach.
All right. Great, thank you. 4th down and 2. Obviously down 11, they're going for it. Boy, that was a dangerous throw, and it looks like it's a catch for a first down.
And the spot here is going to be interesting because he turned to get out of bounds. Let's see where they spot this. Yep, looks like it's a first down.
Cadillac Williams. They have 2 teammates standing next to one another over there.
Yeah, this is somebody had an assignment great. Kendricks probably needed to be a little bit deeper. And that's the veteran experience of Williams. He, like Jackson, is very good out of the backfield. He's a complete back. And that bodes well for St. Louis going forward when they get both these guys back in the backfield.
Well, the hope's still alive. Granted, there's a long way to go, but you fail to convert there, and you're really behind it. Back to the ground. And Cadillac inside the 40, down to the 37-yard line.
It was that short counter step that I talked about earlier. That seems to be the runs that are giving the Eagles the toughest. Again, the flow that little counter step shows, that indicates that they get out of position. That's the type of run that has been hurting the Philadelphia Eagles all day. I imagine we're going to see a bunch more of it.
Babbitt picks up his 2nd sack of the afternoon.
Yeah, we talked earlier about that wide 9 rush. We're going to show you here just how tough that is on the tackle. When you talk about up here, look at the width here. What that does, as he closes in, that puts the tackle in a situation. He's got a 3-way break. Guy can go outside, inside, can power rush him as he did here. It puts the tackle in a very difficult situation with that wide 9 rush of Jim Washburn's defense.
3rd down and 8. Another drop. This one by another rookie, Greg Salas.
And this too big a hill for a climber here at a 4th and a long. With 10 minutes left in the game, you hope you can punt here, get him backed up a little bit, and get favorable field position on the exchange.
Of course, you can say they're rookies, and you can go on and on from now until next Tuesday about that. Bottom line is they're getting paid to play. And there have been a number of drops in this game by both Kendricks and that one by Salas. They're not alone. 6 drops total on the day for the Rams.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by UPS. Let UPS put the power of logistics to work for you.
24-13, nearly 11 minutes left to play. Philadelphia with a lead and the ball. I want to remind you, for those of you who have games in your home market that you're waiting on, 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Central, 1 o'clock Pacific, will be getting you there to help commemorate our 9/11 ceremonies in just a bit.
St. Louis needs to dial up a whole bunch more of that because they absolutely need a stop here. This is desperation time here. You can't be passive. Now you've gotten them a 2nd and long. Be a great place for a trap or a draw on Philadelphia's part, because I can't imagine you not continuing to bring the pressure. You cannot be passive in this situation. You have got to have a 3 and out if you're St. Louis.
McCoy with room.
Wow, they just broke contain. You can see here the right side of St. Louis. Watch how he comes in here. Just gets collapsed down inside. There is no contain. Michael's got to stay to the outside. Quentin Michael here, the safety, needed to stay outside to build that picket fence we talk about occasionally. So the back has no place to go. Got gobbled up inside.
McCoy a big gain. And he's out across the 40 to the 43-yard line.
Craig Dahl here does just the opposite. Watch how wide upfield he is. Everything gets washed down. You got to press the edge. Stay as deep as the deepest. He's too far up the field. McCoy cuts it tight back behind the line. Right now, the safeties are not, and DBs of St. Louis are not building this front the way it needs to be built.
Back-to-back longest carries of the game for McCoy. And he'll take a seat while Ronnie Brown gets a football, and that'll be a gain of 8. This is old-fashioned power football, and there's an injured Ram on the field. That's Ron Bartell. And they're already a little bit thin at that corner position to begin with. So they're looking at Bartell. And we'll be back.
Well, this is Ron Bartell's worst nightmare. A DB coming up against a big back with no one between him and the back. And just gets caught up in the wash. Hopefully he's okay.
Been a tough day injury-wise for the Rams. We know about Amendola, Steven Jackson, Bartell. The starting right tackle left the game earlier, Jason Smith. McCoy a sprint to the corner. And a touchdown, no penalty flags.
Howard Mudd, you'd think he'd be a little happier than that with his offensive line performing this way. This is just this is right out of the college playbook. We talked about Philadelphia overrunning plays by that linebacking core, Tom. You're going to see here when we get a chance to look at it, St. Louis doing the same thing. Overrunning the play. Excellent cutback for the big play here. He sees the linebackers overrun it. He's got the speed and the ability now to turn on the jets. I know he didn't show it, but Howard Mudd's loving the outcome of that and what his offensive line had to do to make that happen.
I'm starting to say, based on that look, I was going to ask you, because you know him well, is Howard Mudd ever happy?
Not in a long time, but he's got to be happy with that. He may not show it, but he's happy, trust me. Well, this is what we're talking about, the action of the back starting strong. Watch this line, just like we saw. Stop. To collapsing, the overrunning of the linebackers we talked about with Philadelphia. St. Louis the same way, and now he's off to the races. Great push and seal by the offensive line. Howard Mudd, I tell you what, Howard coached me 35 years ago when we were both in San Francisco. You ask about him being grumpy? He was old and grumpy 35 years ago. He tried to make me an offensive tackle. I got grumpy at that point, but great offensive line coach.
Or we're going to take a knee.
You know, Howard, a lot has been made, Tom, about Howard Mudd coming in and totally changing the personality and profile of the offensive line of the Philadelphia Eagles. He's got a rookie center. He's got kind of two journeymen in Mathis and Devan, and it's a different style than Juan Castillo, now the defensive coordinator, had. It's much more of an aggressive punching style than the bucket step passive. Some people have questioned it. Looks pretty good today.
You know, it's interesting, Brian, how when you have a lead late and then you have 4 plays in a row, 3 plays in a row, where LeSean McCoy is given the ball, you know, you ask yourself, and this is what you coaches do. McCoy's first 11 carries, he had 27 yards. We talked about the pressure that Dick has been under a lot today. That one batted in the air and through the hands of Samuel. But then all of a sudden, the numbers can sometimes get skewed when McCoy goes his last 3 carries for 77 yards. So has it been a good day for the offensive line up until the last drive?
Yeah, because you got to look at the game in totality. That last touchdown was against pretty much an 8-man front. You saw the safety come down, was a little wide, but the offensive line did a good job. You know, the running game, just like sometimes a back takes a while to warm up, sometimes the line, particularly a new line coming together, takes a little while to warm up.
First time they try stretch the field, and it's a completed pass to Brandon Gibson.
Boy, nice stretch. Now, watch how he tries to maintain control all the way to the end. Yeah, that's a legal catch to me. He understood that he had to have control all the way through the act. I don't know that we'll get a challenge here. Yes, we do. Andy's throwing it out there. And why not? You can guess why not take the shot. You're in control of the game. I don't know if he thinks he saw something, but it's probably a pretty good challenge.
So you take a look, you be the judge. They'll take a look at it upstairs.
The key is their movement. Is there noticeable movement of the ball after the catch? That's what they're going to have to look for.
Philadelphia is challenging the ruling on the field of a completed pass.
We'll be back.
Timeout.
Well, the question is there movement of the ball as he goes down? It's got to be irrefutable. It was ruled a catch. I don't see enough to come in and say, no, there was enough movement. That's the best angle we have. Therefore, it's the best angle that the officials have. I imagine this catch is going to hold up. And this has got to be concerning Sam Bradford carrying his arm gingerly.
We've already talked about all the injuries the Rams have suffered in this game, and apparently this one will knock Bradford out of the game. He's on his way back to the locker room. When you look at the players that have been injured, you talked about the quad. You know, if you tweak that thing, can it linger week after week after week?
After review, the ruling on the field stands. It is a first down, St. Louis. Philadelphia will be charged with its second timeout.
And again, we'll talk about the verbiage. Remember, when he says it stands, there was nothing. If they'd have seen for sure that it said confirmed, but there was nothing to change it. Now we're going to see what happens. Looks like Bradford just comes down. Ooh. And I don't know that he got hit. It just seemed like an awkward action coming over the top of his wrist.
So A.J. Feely, a two-time Philadelphia Eagle. In fact, he was originally drafted by Philadelphia in the 5th round back in 2001, and now his 11th year. This is his first snap in a regular season game since 2007. And he lays a pass off out of the backfield complete. Cadillac Williams and Kurt Coleman pushing and shoving on the far side.
Yeah, this is one of those instances, neither coach, but particularly Andy Reid, you're up 31-13. You don't want your team to lose focus, fall into this type of activity, because there's no upside to that. Shows a lack of discipline. So I imagine Andy Reid will be all over this.
Illegal block in the back, offense, number 62. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Replay, first down.
That precedes everything on that block in the back by Harvey Dahl. And the ball brought back to the Philadelphia 46. Slightly underthrown. Feely took a big hit. The Eagles bring in the house.
Yeah, and why not against a quarterback that hasn't played the whole game? Your starter has gotten every rep during the course of the season. That's the hardest thing for a backup to do, to come in and really be comfortable with the pressure packages he's going to see. Do I check off? Do I throw the hot? Do I throw the break off? That's tough for the backup quarterback to come in and do in this situation.
Second down at 20. They bring him again. Again, Feely is hit and hit hard. Sacked by Cullen Jenkins, his first sack as an Eagle.
Yeah, the Eagles are feeling it now. Those wide 9 techniques as you go outside to try to account for those ends. Juan Castillo knows it's kind of a feeding frenzy right now. Now the inside rush, you don't normally get a lot of huge inside pass rush from guys like Cullen Jenkins and Mike Patterson. But as defensive tackle goes, they're not too bad.
Well, we started this game talking about a couple of critical questions for this Eagles team. That's the first career catch for Salas, still on his feet. Close to a first down to the 31. That'll bring up 4th down and short. We're talking about the offensive line. Juan Castillo has not coached defensive players since 1989, and that was Kingsville High School in Texas. And really, were it not for 3 penalties on 3rd down by the Philadelphia defense, which extended Rams' drives, these defensive numbers might look really good.
Yeah, absolutely. We did talk about the dream team and the concerns coming in that could turn that dream into a nightmare. And again, focus starts to leave you.
Start. Offense number 11. 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
But let's go down the checklist. Concerns about the offensive line. I don't think they're out of the woods there, but this offensive line performed pretty well, and they're going to play better with each ensuing game. The inside linebackers, they got schooled early. I still think Casey Matthews obviously could be a vulnerability until he really gets comfortable with it, but they performed on the whole very well. The kickers have performed very well, and Juan Castillo's going to come back and look at that, like you alluded to, other than 3 penalties. Probably a pretty good game on his part.
Incomplete. That'll give the football to Philadelphia, and that will bring Michael Vick and company on the field one more time. Of course, very recently, football lost one of its all-time great players and one of its all-time great people. For those that knew him well, Leroy Selmon. Tony Dungy quoted as saying, if you didn't know him, and you met him somewhere, you'd never know who he was, never know why he was famous. He was the kind of person, when you saw him, you knew it was going to be great. Certain people you're happy to see. He was one of those always. Certainly a lot of friends and family watching as our telecast is being viewed nearly all over the state of Texas, and that's where Leroy Selmon grew up. Let's check in downstairs with Laura Oakman.
Well, obviously the Rams are being very cautious when talking about Sam Bradford. I think there's a little relief in terms of it's not his thumb. There's some history there with injury, but they are taking an x-ray right now of his finger. They wouldn't say which one. I just know it is an x-ray of one of the fingers on his throwing hand.
When you look at these injuries, I'm not so sure, maybe outside of Laurinaitis, if you added to that list, that you could pick 6 more important players of this St. Louis Rams team than the 6 guys that have left with injuries so far in the game today, as McCoy will take a seat at the 31 to keep the clock running.
And even in a game like this, Steve Spagnuolo, given the injuries, it doesn't matter. There's still things about this game that you need to improve on. They're giving up the edge here in St. Louis. There are technique things, there are schematic things that are catching the Rams right now that they're going to have to address, and they're going to have plenty of film to look at, because that last run's a perfect example. Be able to get outflanked like that on a play that you know they're going to run, something that's got to be corrected going forward.
Hand it off to Ronnie Brown. He's dropped for a loss. You know, I got to tell you, having come here so many years to St. Louis, 24 years for baseball, over 17 for football. Boy, did we lose a good friend. St. Louis native, longtime NFL spotter, did everything in our business, worked with some of the greatest announcers at all time at CBS and Fox. What a guy he was. He just passed away this week here in St. Louis. Gary Lynn, boy, will we miss you. So many friends and family all across the country. Great smile, always upbeat. Dion Lewis with a carry to the 30. All right, what about the Rams? We've talked about some of the issues with the Eagles, at least coming into the game. For a team that many expect will go to the playoffs, there are a lot of people believe the Rams are the team to beat. As Bradford makes his way out of the locker room back onto the sideline, that they're the team to beat in the NFC West.
You know, I've got the Rams 24th in my power rating that I do for FoxSports.com, and that is too low because they're a good football team. what scares me, their first half of the season schedule is absolutely brutal. If they can survive that with any kind of proficiency, the second half looks pretty good. But that's got to be a concern for Coach Steve Spagnuolo.
One-handed catch made by McCoy. Look at the teams they are playing.
This is, I don't know who he upset in the league office, and I'm only joking. But this first half schedule, look at that. At New York, then you got Baltimore. Okay, Washington, we'll see. At Green Bay, at Dallas, then you come home to New Orleans. That is brutal. If they can navigate through this, even at 500, the second half of their season is very doable. They don't even play a division game until the second half of the season. This is a tough road for Steve Spagnuolo and his group.
I mean, you can make a strong argument. And, well, you know, it all depends on what kind of injury toll you have. They've had a lot of them today. But this Rams team could be 3-4 or 2-5. And arguably be one of the top 10 teams in the NFC.
And that's going to be the challenge for him, to keep his team together under whatever adversity comes their way the first half of the season. I know you only go one game at a time. We hear from the coaches and the players, and you don't want the players thinking about it, but as a coach, you got to have a plan to help them weather those storms.
Of course, not an easy task to begin this year for Andy Reid's Philadelphia Eagles. This was certainly not an easy game to start a year. We'll take a look at the next couple of games. You go to Atlanta, a team getting drilled today in Chicago. At the 49, or the Giants rather. Huge rival game. San Francisco at Buffalo at Washington. That's a pretty favorable schedule leading up to a bye week before you take on Dallas, Chicago, and Arizona.
Well, it's the balance. You know, everybody plays a tough schedule, okay? And you could say, well, everybody in the NFC West has got a tough schedule, just like St. Louis. Yeah, but the way it comes at you, can you hold your team together via the onslaught of a tough early schedule rather than it being piecemealed out every other game, every third or fourth game?
You know, for a division champ last year, though, you have to say, really, as we get down to the 2-minute warning, that Philadelphia caught a huge break on the schedule. We'll talk more about that when we come back. They play 6 teams the entire year that were over 500. Two-minute warning, 31-13. Again, a reminder for those of you in the home markets of our late games. In a moment, we'll be leaving this game and be switching you to the start of your game. Third down, and a drop by Williams will bring up fourth down. You know, Brian Billick, it's one thing to sit around and talk about football. We do that a lot. We're going to do it for the next 17 weeks. You've been called a lot of names, and I'm not sure all of them have necessarily been flattering names. You have never been called, however, Grandpa.
How about that?
Your daughter, Aubrey, her husband, Taylor Jones. Thoughts and prayers on a happy, healthy delivery, and you're going to be a granddad.
I don't look that old, do I?
You don't.
And I reminded him, if it's a boy, Brian spelled with an I. That's the only thing I laid out for him. We're excited. Thank you for that. We're excited, my wife Kim and I. And
well, I mean, you have two lovely daughters. So it only fit that your first grandchild is going to be another little girl. Come on.
No, my family. Boys have girls and girls have boys. It's going to be a grandson. I can promise you that. I'm looking forward to it. Oh, I'm going to corrupt that kid. I'm going to lead him down a path that all those
Just
things.
don't teach him or her some of the words you've taught me. No. It's been a rough couple of years.
No, it's going to be fun. We can't wait for it. We're looking forward to it. That's what grandparents do. You'll get there one day. You'll see.
Believe me.
You'll
My
see.
dad, I'm well aware. Impressions this game. You saw the Green Bay New Orleans game the other night. There have been a lot made, and you being a former coach, you know, all that kind of thing about maybe being a little rusty.
Yeah, you know what? It looks like the first game of the season.
Good job, man. Here you go,
St. Louis
Michael.
probably doesn't feel that way. Philadelphia probably says, yeah, this is same old, but it looks like the first week of NFL football to me. I think the lockout is a non-factor.
Well, again, a reminder, it is time now for those of you in home markets waiting around for our late games today. We are sending you there now to get you to the start of your game. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next weekend. Pair of 100-yard rushers today. Michael Vick has more 100-yard rushing games than any quarterback in history. Today is his 12th. LaShawn McCoy, 122 yards. Flags blow it dead before it ever starts. Our game today produced by Bob
Legal
Stenner.
snap, offense number 62, 5-yard penalty, remains second down.
And our game directed by Artie Kempner, our technical producer Bob Muller, our technical director John Howard, associate directors Wayne Wilson and Yvonne Wagner, our broadcast associate Jordan Wolf. We thank Tom Barbary on stats, Scott Snyder, our spotter, and our entire crew. We're going to be with you for 17 weeks this year. And next week we get another look at an NFC East team, the Dallas Cowboys. They'll start their season tomorrow night. We'll be in San Francisco. Moments from now we'll start the Jim Harbaugh era.
Yeah, exciting first week. And looking at some of the scores, as usual, all the predictions and rankings and that, boy, you can throw them out the window. NFL, that's so exciting every year. Everybody's in it. Everybody's a part of it. Doesn't matter what you did last year.
So on this opening weekend, the Philadelphia Eagles, who were the most aggressive team in the NFL in free agency, despite the fact they were coming off a divisional championship a year ago. All the talk, all the hype. It ends in a Week 1 victory, final score of 31-13. And certainly the Rams on the other side are going to have to lick their wounds and get healthy in a hurry, Coach. Not only that schedule, but some of their key players are nicked up. So we're going to take a timeout here. 31-13. Eagles win their opener.
Listen, wins are hard to get in the National Football League. I think you see that when you check the way things are around the league. And but on the other hand of that, on the other side of that, there's plenty of things that we need to work on, and so we'll do that. We're obviously not satisfied with today. We know we can play better. My hat's off to Steve and his football team. They battled like crazy. They had quite a few injuries there, it looked like, and that's a tough deal. But he sure has done a nice job along with his coaches and front office of putting together a good football team. So, yeah, well, listen, you kind of work through the first game and really the first part of the season, and you work those things out, and that's, I think, what you're seeing, as you watch the different games. I think you'll probably see that is, that's the way it is. But you got to enjoy these things. Every one that you get, they're tough to get. Well, really, what they were bringing one more than what we could handle. So it wasn't really the offensive line as much as what they were doing, and we were just off. You saw that. I mean, we were off by a hair of just huge plays, and so we've got to make sure that we get those taken care of, and just one little step quicker, and we'll be okay. But they showed us a lot of looks, which we knew they would, and Steve and Flage are very good at what they do, and that's a good test for us. So we were able to hit a few big plays against them, and you need those when they're coming after you like that. Well, listen, I think every coach would probably tell you that everybody's excited. I think the fans and you guys and the players and coach, everybody's excited for the first game and getting it started. So you got to work through that a little bit and kind of get back into the swing and just take one play at a time and exhaust yourself on that play and then start on the next play. And if you can learn something from each play, become better, that's the objective here. Yeah, I thought he did some good things. He obviously, he did a couple of good things with his legs, and he also did some good things with his arm. He made a couple of real nice calls up front to change the protection around so he could get a couple of balls off. And but there are a couple of them he liked that back too. So obviously, the deep one to Deshaun there was those kind of rip your heart out if you complete those. So that's tough on the opposing team. So you want to make sure that when you have opportunities to strike like that, you do.
I think after they got the first touchdown, it was important to just calm down and just weather the first quarter storm, stay in rhythm. And I knew this game was going to be, a tough one. I knew coming in they was going to play very hard, extremely hard. They played very well. I give them a lot of credit. And, you just got to, fight through certain situations. And we was able to do that. And that's the first sign of a good football team, staying poised, understanding the situation, and not getting too out of whack. Yeah, I think at some point they have to be cognizant of the fact that we do have great backs in the backfield. And I can break the pocket sometimes myself, depending on what blitzes come. So everything has to be precise on their end, and you can't do it every play. So I think they have to pick and choose their spots, in which I think they did well. And it's important for us to go back and watch the film because I know teams are going to try to emulate that. But I think as we go along from week to week, we'll grow, we'll get better, and I'm excited for this football team. I'm proud of the front line, and they finished strong. I mean, at some point, that's some teams' strengths. Some teams can't do it. But if teams want to do it each and every week, we'll have counters for it. We'll have ways to beat it. And, that was part of the reason I was able to run for 100 yards. And I trained myself this offseason to be able to do that. So, however it happens, however we get it done, that's what it's going to be. But I'm pretty sure we're going to do a great job at getting better in the blitz. And it's all about, situations and putting guys in the right positions at the right time. It felt great just to know that I can go out and play lights out, not have to worry about anything. I trained very hard this offseason. I feel better than I ever felt before. And I give a lot of credit to, to the way the situation turned out with the new CBA, giving us a lot of time to get rest and, just to prepare ourselves. So, I feel good. I feel like I could play another 4 quarters right now. So each and every week, it's all about taking care of the body, but at the same time maintaining and making sure my preparation is right. Yeah, it is, and I think we're only going to get better each and every week. It was loud out there, so we had a hard time communicating it. So, I think this week we'll all watch the film and just try to be prepared for what teams are going to try to do to us. But it's fun, picking up the blitz and trying to figure out what teams are going to do. I think it's really going to help us down the road. Today we didn't have too much success doing it, and we really didn't have to. But I think, for the duration of the season, I think it's going to pay dividends. Yeah, we have a long way to go, and I'm excited about where we're at now. We have a great group of coaches who's going to go back and look at the film and going to be able to counter, I think, what our opposition is going to do in the weeks to come. And that's the fun part about this game. What we're on right now is the things that we didn't do so well. I felt like, I could have been more sound in certain situations. So, I'm excited. I'm thankful for the victory, don't get me wrong. I just wish it could have been a little cleaner. And I told Andy that, but, that's just work. And if today was a day where we had to go out and learn a lot, be on the road, new offensive line, and go through some growing pains, then that's what it was going to be, and we found a way to get it done, and I think that's what's most important.
Mike, how big was that first?
Injuries. Keem Jordan has a slight tear in his shoulder, naval tear, and he'll struggle this week. We'll see how he does. Try to tell you day by day, but he'll struggle in practice this week, I think, as we go. JP, he had his foot x-rayed, but he's fine. It's negative, and he's doing okay. Darryl Tapp has a pec strain, and we'll see how he does. Kind of a day-by-day thing here. We'll see how he does this week. And then Vince is making progress. He was out running today. He's making progress with his hamstring. Again, we're in that stage now where it's a day-by-day. Tough to win the National Football League, and particularly on the road, and still come out and tell you that we got a lot of things to work on after the game yesterday. The players, I know you had an opportunity to talk to them after the game, and they were comments that they were humble Some of the positives that went on, in general, I think from our return game, our offense, our defenses, we continue to get better throughout the game. Some of our young players, I thought, progressed throughout the game and got better. So, in general, that was the situation. Specifically, I thought our young linebackers improved every opportunity that they had to play. I think started off we were a little bit cautious, playing cautious football at the linebacker spot, kind of checking things out. And then as the game went on, they really picked it up. And I'd like to tell you that it was a nice run by Steven on the first play, but the hole was pretty big. I might have been able to fit through that hole, so it was a good size hole. But as you saw as the game went on, they tightened things up, and the seams, that's what we're looking at, the lanes for runners to run through were tightened up, and it progressively got better as the game went on. The O-line, again, they looked like they worked well together. It was a good test for them right off by playing in a stadium that's domed and is very loud. So I was encouraged by the way they handled the noise. We have a young center in there who actually I thought played well. And we were asking him to do a lot of things, and I thought he handled it for the most part fairly well. The communication between he and Mike got better again as the game went on, as far as declaring the protections and that. We had a couple stumbles there early where we used some timeouts to get it straight. And again, the second half was pretty clean there. The second half of the process. I thought LaShawn, we were asking him to do a couple little different runs from the last few years, and we used some of those in this game, and you can see each opportunity that he had, he took advantage of it and was very patient with pulling line and setting things up and bursting off of them. I always look for those first couple of steps that his eyes see it and he feels it. Those first couple of steps kind of tell the story, and I thought he did a nice job of bursting through there. Third downs, normally this early in the season, your third down percentage is a little bit lower than what we had here. So that I think was a positive in the game on both sides of the ball. Deion Lewis, I thought, again, he had opportunities back there, and you saw him take a couple of them out. I think we've gotten that straightened out, and he did a better job after that on the kickoff returns. It's good to get Macklin and Stephen Smith through the game and give them actual game time and reps. And I thought they held up, in particular, Jeremy and more snaps than what Stephen did. So it was good to get him through, and both of them come out healthy. And I thought our D-line consistently put pressure on the quarterback. And then I thought they used it, as the game went on, I thought they used their hands well and transitioned well to the run game. And that's very important in this style of defense, is that we're an up-the-field charged team, but at the same time, you got to keep your hands available to use, to shed and come back and rally to the football for the run game. And I thought they did a good job and got better as the game went on, particularly with the run part of it. Again, I just want to compliment Spags on the job that he's done with the Rams. He had a few injuries that took place during that game. They were able to put other guys in there, and that's a tribute to his personnel department. And then the job that he's done, both as coordinators and special teams coordinator, I think had a very good plan coming into this game for us. And I thought his players played played hard and executed. And the players who got hurt, they'll get healthy and they'll be back and doing good there. So, my hats off to him. Yeah, he's got a good football team.
Andy, last year you guys were the guys, the team that went through the injuries, losing Cobb and Stewart Bradley. What's the difference between this year and last year? Not only winning the game, but coming through healthy and having your quarterback established. Can you just comment on the difference between the 2 years?
Well, continuity is a big part of this thing as you go on through the season. You want to try to grow as a team. On the other hand, you've got to maintain a certain attitude because it's a physical game. There are going to be injuries, so the next guy in needs to come and play. But having the short off season, coming out of camp with guys relatively healthy, I think helps, at least early in the season. But the name of this game is that there are going to be injuries that take place, and so it's important to have the depth. And how he's done a good job for us. Giving the coaches an opportunity to have good players, and the second team players work their tail off for opportunities. So, so if something were to happen, we would feel comfortable with those things.
And Shady statistically is the best fourth quarter running back in the league among active running backs. He's had a lot of these games where his numbers aren't great going to the fourth quarter, but you stick with him and he gets big runs, long runs, productive runs. Well, why is that?
Well, listen, over the years, I think, obviously you've done your homework on this, so I'm putting this out here, but I'll take it back to even the Bill Walsh days of this offense and through Green Bay and Mike in Seattle and so on. And Mike had a little bit different situation. He was runner up there. For a year there, he ran the ball a bit more than what he normally did, but you see the second half, and particularly that fourth quarter, being very productive for the runners. And that's the way you want to do it. If you, particularly if you have a lead, you want to be able to keep the clock running, still have productive runs. And so that's all part of it.
Well, what makes Shady in particular so good at it? Or is it?
Well, I mentioned this to you before. I think his rookie year, like a lot of rookies, he came in and he didn't quite understand the demands of Brian Westbrook was a good helper there teaching him and the demands that it takes to play running back in the National Football League. Came back the next year and he was in much better shape. And he's maintained that. He maintained that with his time off and or the lockout, not time off for him, but the lockout. And he came back to camp in good shape. So I think that matters going to the fourth quarter of the game. It's not like he's still carrying the football prior to the fourth quarter, and he's still running routes and catching the ball and doing the screen game and also the pass game part of it. So and blocking, you saw he did a nice job with the blocking part. So but it really comes down to the conditioning.
And Michael took a lot of hits yesterday, both in and out of the pocket. Obviously, running the ball is what makes some of us dynamic quarterbacks in the league. And you have to find a way to keep them healthy and upright. How do you find that happening?
Well, there were a couple of times where he actually went down, which was, or at least we were getting him, he was about halfway down. So that's a good thing. We're getting closer. And there's part of that you don't want to take away. So, and then the protection part and blitz part, you understand that when they're bringing an extra guy to a side, that and this is a combination of things. So when I say everybody has a little piece of pie, that's part of it. When people bring an extra guy, the receivers need to be dynamic on those plays where things are happening fast, and they've got to make sure they clear fast. And then Michael gets the ball out fast. And sometimes you're going to have to hang on to it just to take longer because the defense does a pretty good job. And in those cases, you're going to take a hit. You just got to kind of know how to get rid of it and then still lean out of the hit and protect yourself the best way you possibly can. To get better at that.
Have you given up on trying to get him to teach him to slice?
I'll get both of you. Go ahead.
Have you given up on trying to teach him how to slide or get him to slide or work?
Yeah, listen, I was happy that he at least went making progress. Look, this is one of the most competitive guys you're ever going to meet. I'm just telling you. Yeah, I know he's quiet and all that, but he is a fierce competitor. So we're making progress.
Andy, on Mike's run, were you comfortable that on the majority of his runs, they were like almost like last resort things that he had, made the reads he wanted, and the decision to run was because the other things weren't there?
Yeah, and then he kept his eyes on the field. I just add that to your comment there. So I would say yes to those, and it was good that he made some plays where he moved out of the pocket suddenly and still threw the ball, made a couple big plays doing that. He retreated. You saw Max blitz when they threw to Sean in the end zone crossing the formation there, and that was a beautiful thing. I mean, that was a plus. It was a play action pass. Absolutely got a clear man on the backside, moved a little bit to the left, retreated, got to do the fallaway jumper, and threw the ball to Sean. So that's progress in the right direction. Are there things that he needs to work on? Continue to work on? Absolutely. And I'll probably tell you that to the day he retires, right? So I mean, there's always something. Quarterbacks, coaches, everybody. That's the nice part about this game.
Andy, after going to another dome for a game, do you feel confident that maybe some of the issues that plagued clock management was this last game, they'll probably be worked out the second game?
Well, that's what we're gonna try to work on those things and get that so we don't have to use the timeouts and get that cleared up. We'll get that covered.
Is it strictly the noise, or it's just because of the newness, a lot of new guys, obviously?
Yeah, listen, it was a combination. So I'll look at that. We'll get it taken care of. That's my responsibility to do that. We'll get that put on.
After watching the tape on Michael, how close are you to protecting him the way you want to be able to protect him? I mean, I know you did a great job of getting loose and things like that, but this isn't your template for success, right?
Yeah. Well, you got to continue. Now, listen, the teams are going to blitz you, which they did, and you're not going to hit on every one. But when you do hit, you want to make it productive, and you see the best quarterbacks in the league. And I put Michael into the same category as the top quarterbacks in this league. Is that they're going to get hit. That's just how it works. And that is what they do with the ball. Do they make the defense pay? If you make the defense pay, then they're not going to blitz much. So he did that. He made some big plays, just like he did last year. He made some big plays with the blitz. But not everyone's going to be perfect, but the great ones find a way to get it done, and that's what he does.
He's still in there, Andy, even throwing the ball, because he is so competitive. As you said, are you going to have to think about getting him out there earlier when you have a large lead and the game is under control?
No, we'll see. We'll see how that goes on. You want to make sure you solidify it. And, if you're asking, could I have gotten him out of there probably a little bit earlier? I probably could. Yeah.
And it's going to be kind of Mike going back to Atlanta, starting for the first time since he left there, night game, prime time, all that. Do you have to do anything? I mean, he's already excited about it. Do you have to do anything alongside just try to tone him down somehow, or just let him go, let him loose?
Well, you got to kind of put that part out of your mind and focus in on the game plan, and he'll do that. He's played some big games before, so. But you have to go through the process, and and this goes with any player. If you eliminate the process and go from Sunday to Sunday, and go through Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and so on. And particularly for the quarterback, because he's in here today, he'll be in here tomorrow, and so on. That you make a mistake there if you don't cover those, if you don't exhaust yourself on those days of preparation. And he's very good about that. He's the kind of guy that you got to kind of boot out of here. He's always around and want to make sure that he has everything down pat. So that's what he'll focus in on initially, and then he goes and plays.
And with Danny Watkins, it seemed to be an anticipation that he might be able to come in and start right away. Can you just talk about what you saw in between now and that first week that made you decide to hold back?
Well, I thought he could take a step back, to take a step forward, a big step forward. And with that, I thought he missed some crucial time, in particular in our install period. There's a point where you go through camp where you are just barreling plays at these guys, and then there's a point where you pull back. Well, the first week or two are very, very important weeks and days. And each one is crucial that you get that install and you get it down pat. You have an opportunity to practice it. So Danny, and in particular in his situation, when I mentioned the three things about you go from college to pros, that's a tough jump. You go from left tackle to right guard, that's a tough jump. So you're going from left side to the right side, from tackle to guard. Those are three things there that are tough to acclimate to. And now you add into that the lockout, the mini camps, and then the missed time by holding out. So he's been playing a catch-up game since he's been here. And so it's not fair to stick him in a situation like that. It's not fair to do that. And so I made that decision, give him as many reps as I can give him, and then just pull back a little bit. And I know the man knows the offense, and so he's able to step in. He's a veteran player. And Danny's day will come. It will come. He's a talented kid. It's just there's too much catch-up there.
How much of a factor was the defensive line in terms of getting pressure on Bradford and preventing him from throwing in touchdown passes and stuff like that? The defensive line, the pressure they got on Bradford, how much of that was a factor in preventing his
Listen, Bradford is a great quarterback. I said that before we went into the game. I still feel that same way. Again, I also, our defensive line did a nice job. So, and I thought our defense, when we did pressure, when we had our pressure packages, they did a nice job. It started with the D-line. If you put pressure on with the four guys, that's a plus. So when they were stunting and straight rushing, I thought they were able to do that with 4 men, and then you add in some of the blitz fire zones that one did. That added to it. But, so again, to answer your question, I thought the D-line did do a good job.
Andy, last year your passing defense was obviously with you. 31 touchdowns allowed. They were particularly good in the red zone. In both areas yesterday, they were very good. Allowed, obviously. Is that something that you made such a concerted effort to improve? And are you happy right now? Obviously, it's only one game with the results there.
Well, we've got to keep working. That's what you do. So you try to figure out the things that you do best down there on both sides of the ball, and then you figure out how that fits into your game plan, and then you go with it. But, we'll see how it goes. Time will tell. We'll see how it works out.
9 seconds left, third down. I guess later in the season maybe you take a shot at the end zone, but what was the thinking there going for the field goal with 9 seconds left and a down to play with? There was some chaos going on, I guess, with, you just want to get the points, or is that something?
We had the timeout before that, and moved back, and each play takes right around between 6 and 9 seconds there, so once I get that around that time, I'm normally gonna kick it. But there were some added things to that.
And you said
Well, he just woke up. He woke up with some soreness, so we had to X-ray. I was just putting it out there to you, so I gave you the whole. I don't think it's problems.
And Akeem won't need to get scoped or anything, or he just needs to.
Who's that?
Akeem Jordan, his shoulder.
No, he should be fine.
Some guys miss a lot of time with pec injuries. Is there any concern that it's a long-term injury for him?
Well, we'll see. I don't think he'll be long-term, but we'll see how it goes. I think he tore it pretty good. I mean, he's pretty sore. We'll just see how it all works out.